Is Saturday a winnable game for the South Carolina Gamecocks as they host the Rebels of Ole Miss Saturday at noon in Williams-Brice Stadium? The fact that I even asked the question about it being a winnable game says a lot, and it shows just how far Shane Beamer's brought this program since he got to South Carolina. Welcome into Wire to Wire. He's Diesel. I'm Cole Bryson. Diesel, before we get deep into the weeds today in this conversation with South Carolina and Ole Miss, we first have to establish the question of if this is a winnable game in your opinion and in my opinion, and then obviously what makes it a winnable game. Do we both agree, though, that Saturday, 2 days from now, is a winnable game for South Carolina and the Gamecocks?
Well, if you go back and pull the tape from the beginning of the season, Cole, I think you and I both chalked this one up to a sure loss for the South Carolina Gamecocks. An unwinnable football game. But, man, Kentucky made Ole Miss look mortal last week. Ole Miss played a garbage schedule leading into that football game. We didn't really know who they were. And I think that's kind of the danger of not really ever scheduling anybody legitimate out of conference early in the season. Some schools do it, some schools don't. Some go to level 10 in week number 1, and it bites them in the ass. But then you got all season to kind of make up for that. Can Clemson do that? We talked about that yesterday on the show. But this game is certainly winnable for South Carolina. And I think it's more about what Shane Beamer has done with this team and this defense this year. So more so than it is, through his tenure at South Carolina, because this defense is nasty.
It is
this year. It is nasty. That is the heart of this team. While the offense is pretty good in most games, they're not great in every game. They're a little inconsistent. When Sellers is healthy and when he's on, the South Carolina offense is really, really good. But when he's not, they certainly take a step back. So they got to get first of all, they got to get Lenore Sellers healthy. Second of all, they got to build some consistency in the performance week in and week out, because this South Carolina defense is playing well enough to keep them in every single football game.
So what's changed is the question I have now. We'll get into that. I want to let you know, Tolos, you can text into the show, 71307. Start your text with the word fan. Phone lines are also open, 844-FAN-PHONE. That's 844-326-3663. Phone lines are open right now if you want to talk South Carolina Ole Miss this weekend. Diesel, before we get into why it's winnable, let's first establish what's changed, because you brought up something interesting, and I'm glad you did. You brought up the fact that when you and I both gave our official predictions for South Carolina football in 2024, you and I both said, just like you pointed out, that Ole Miss will win this game, it really wasn't looked at as a winnable game then. What was that? You went on vacation in August? Is that right? Early August? So we did this somewhere early August, maybe even the first week of August, I believe, when we made these official predictions. So fast forward 2 months from when we made these predictions, the fact that South Carolina, the fact that you and I both sit here and say this is a winnable game for the Gamecocks, what has changed? And Tolos, if you don't agree, let us know on the text line. If you don't think this is a winnable game, but Diesel and I both do. Diesel, I believe that there's so many variables and factors here, but when you look at this now being a winnable game, in your opinion, is it because Ole Miss lost to Kentucky last week, or is it because South Carolina is that much improved from last season?
I think it's because South Carolina finally has a defense. You've got Dylan Stewart out there absolutely mauling dudes from the defensive edge. You got Kyle Kennard doing the same thing from the other side. You got DQ Smith shutting people down. You got Nick Imanwari shutting people down. You got a lot of weapons on this defense that were unproven going into the season, and they have all stepped up to prove themselves in a much bigger way than we thought. I don't think going into the season, we thought this South Carolina defense was going to be awful.
Sure.
We just didn't think they were going to be as good as they are.
And young.
Yeah.
We knew they're going to be young. But we've heard from Shane Beamer multiple times. One thing that we were told about the defense is the depth. And the depth has certainly been an added value Diesel, for this Gamecock defense, when you talk about rotation, the guys that you mentioned who have been really, really good, they've got 3 to 4 more guys this season that they can rotate in and out. And when you do have an injury on defense, the margin of error is not as thin this season, right? Because you have more guys that you can rotate in and out. I believe this is a winnable game for South Carolina. However, I said it yesterday. Rob Brown and I were talking about it this morning. It scares me. And tell me if you push back. Tolo's the same thing. If this is way off, let me know. It scares me that Ole Miss lost last week. I just think they're going to be focused. I think they're going to be ready. I think Jackson Dart and Ole Miss comes out almost mad, kind of like Clemson did against App State Diesel after losing to Georgia. I'm not saying they have that same explosive offense, right? But I do think there's a level of focus because at the end of the day, this Ole Miss offense is still really good. On paper, they're way better than South Carolina, right?
Yeah, I think they are. I mean, they certainly have a higher price roster than what South Carolina has. There's dudes on both sides of the football and both sides of the field. Ole Miss just has a lot more of them. So it's up to Clayton White to scheme this defense exceptionally well, and it's up to them to contain enough to give Lenore Sellers a chance to go out and create and win. Now, if Lenore Sellers is back to 100%, and he can stay healthy for the entire football game, I think South Carolina has a decent shot to win this game. At least keep it within a touchdown or a 10-point final score. No more moral victories. If you're a South Carolina Gamecocks fan, you started the season hot. You got to keep going. You got to keep the mentality high. You got to keep the mindset high.
Yeah.
No more moral victories. I don't want to hear a single one of you calling in on Monday saying, well, at least we kept it close. No. If you lose, you lose. If you win, crow about it.
That's right. No, I'm with you there. Moral victories are out the door. The LSU game, it's in the past. It's chalked up as an L, right? It is chalked up as an L for South Carolina. You can't go back and do it. You can't go back and redo it. I guess the only counter argument to my fear, Diesel, my fear of Jackson Dart and Ole Miss losing last week to Kentucky, them, in my opinion, being a little bit more focused, business trip like this weekend going into Columbia. I guess the counter argument to that fear that I have is Clayton White, who you mentioned, and Shane Beamer had a bye week. They did play Akron, which, let's be honest, that was a mini bye, right? Then they had a real bye week. So they've had plenty of time to scout this Ole Miss Rebel football team. That's got to be a factor.
Yeah, I think it is, but I also think that it's an equalizer. You said Ole Miss is coming in angry. They're coming in focused. South Carolina's equalizer is that they are coming off a bye, and they are coming off an easier opponent before that. I'm looking back over the last couple of seasons, Cole, and I asked this question of Kelley Ford yesterday, who sounds weird to say I asked him yesterday, but we're going to have him on today. I wanted to call him
by the way,
to ask him. I wanted to ask him if there's a stat that he tracks that I thought was really, really interesting. And he said, no, but it's funny that you asked that question because I am currently devising ways to factor it into next year's models.
Oh, wow.
So I kind of jumped the gun a little bit on something Kelley Ford is working on, but I wanted to find out how do certain teams coached by their coaches, how do they behave and how do they react coming off of losses? And how do they react and behave
like kicking
coming
coolers
off
behave?
Yeah. How do they react coming off of bye weeks? How do they react and how do they play against teams who are coming off of bye weeks? So I'm just looking back. I'm looking at 2023 for Ole Miss. So Lane Kiffin led teams. What happens to Ole Miss after they lose a game? Well, they lost in their fourth game of the year last year at Alabama 24-10. And then they came back and beat LSU 55-49 last year. So I look at the Georgia Bulldogs game that they lost 52-17 November 11th of last season. Now, it's a little different here because they played ULM in the SEC SoCon Challenge the following week, but they beat ULM 35-3. They looked really, really good in that game. So that tells me, at least in a small sample size, that Lane Kiffin led Ole Miss teams don't lose back-to-back games.
Okay.
If you go back to 2022, paints a different story there. They lost to LSU on October 22nd, and then they came back and beat Texas A&M on the road in the following week. And then things got a little dicey for them down the stretch where they lost 4 in a row, Cole. They lost Alabama at Arkansas, Mississippi State at home in the Egg Bowl, and then versus Texas Tech in the Texact Texas Bowl.
Okay.
They lost a lot. They lost 4 games in a row, but that was also pre-transfer portal. That was pre-depth. That was, it felt like a different era. So you look at the sample size from last year. Lane Kiffin led teams don't typically lose 2 games in a row.
Glad you brought that up. JD on the stream. What stream? Well, we're live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Not only can you listen to Wire, you can watch us. I know you have to look at us, but look, it's easier for some to do. We're live right now, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. JD, to your point about Ole Miss, Diesel, JD chimes in and says Beamer is 2-1 coming off of a bye, won the last 2. I think that is an interesting statistic. It certainly helps. It certainly, in my opinion, should help Gamecock fans feel good about this. Here's an aspect, though, that I want to know when you look at these 2 teams. We know on paper, and I'd like to hear from you, JD, as well, because I know you're a Gamecock fan. But, Diesel, when you look on paper, this is the number 1 ranked offense in the SEC versus the 13th ranked offense in the SEC, okay? So there's a big discrepancy between those 2, 1 and 13. However, my question to you and Gamecock fans out there, we've talked about the bye. We've talked about Ole Miss losing last week. But do you not feel, because I do you not feel like Shane Beamer has a little bit of pettiness to him? What do I mean by that? I'm serious. I think Shane Beamer, Diesel, has a little pettiness to where when you do things, when you say things like Stoops and the sunglasses at Kentucky to give them fuel, now with Juice Wells, this is going to be an emotional game. This is going to be a personal game. I don't know what kind of bulletin board material Shane Beamer's used this week to prepare the Gamecocks, but I do think that there's an aspect of Shane Beamer wanting this game. And I'll tell you what, I think you'll see that emotion on Saturday.
It's going to be a great showdown. You like I said, you got the equalizer of coming off of a bye. You got this emotion. South Carolina fans, a lot of you are dealing with all this Hurricane Helene stuff, and you're going to use this as your first opportunity to get out of town and kind of decompress from all of that and let out all of that emotion. I think it's going to be just a phenomenal football game. And I really genuinely do think South Carolina has a chance to win this football game. I'm not picking them as a favorite by any means.
Okay.
But I do think they have a very good chance. This feels like one of those ones that, there's just this surge of emotion in the team that you can't really put your finger on. You can't really explain why it is the way that it is. But I think the South Carolina Gamecocks could get it done.
Well, to your point about the Hurricane, today's Thursday. For me, I don't know about for you, Diesel, and for the rest of the audience out there. For me, today's the first day I've truly sat down and thought about this game, like went into the numbers, right? Because Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we've been dealing with a hurricane. I think that this buildup would have been a lot bigger if we would have been focused on this earlier. But with the hurricane happening this past week, our focus has been on that, and rightfully so. Today, I think for the first time, Diesel, I realized that this game could be the biggest win for South Carolina Gamecock football outside of the Alabama win, maybe ever. This could be a historically huge win, and I know Ole Miss isn't ranked as high because of the loss last week, but this is a massive game on Saturday in Columbia.
Well, it certainly feels like, the opportunity to be a springboard into the rest of the season, to get off that hump, to get over that hump and be beating a top 15 team at home. This is when the belief really starts to set in for Gamecock Nation, right? Gamecock Nation has never lacked belief in their team, right? Forever to thee. That's the saying. You've never lacked the belief in your team, but I think a lot of Gamecock fans have always had this thought of, well, the other shoe is going to drop eventually.
Well, it has.
And it has in the past. So if you can beat a team like Ole Miss, despite the fact that they lost last week and fell to number 12, you're still playing the same guys that played against Kentucky. You're still playing the same guys that have all these stars and all these NIL deals. And if you can beat that team and those players on the other side, you feel like you can match up against anybody. What was it Clay Hendrix said to us about playing Ole Miss? He goes, we played an NFL team.
That's
we
right.
played
Pro
a
team.
lot of guys who are going to be playing pro football and NFL football in a couple of years.
He's right.
So it's still the same guys that South Carolina's going to be facing. You win those matchups. You look good in those matchups. One-on-ones. You feel like you can match up with the Alabamas and the Georgias and everybody else that's left on your schedule.
Want to get to a comment on the YouTube stream, but first to the text line I go. And just a quick side note, Tigerville Bo, your upset pick that you sent in an hour ago, please resend it. You have to send it during show hours, which is 3 to 7 today and tomorrow. So Tigerville Bo, please resend it. Mike Main on the text line, 71307, keyword fan. Mike Main says, what do we really know about Ole Miss offense? They lost to Kentucky and played a bunch of nobodies. If the Gamecocks can play with discipline, I think we win. Well, discipline's certainly going to be a big part of it because against the LSU Tigers, at times you lacked a little discipline. But Diesel said that earlier. You know, they have played a fairly weak schedule. I think South Carolina's been battle-tested, which I think will help the Gamecocks. JD on the YouTube stream says, yeah, Beamer could break his foot after the game. Oh, come on, JD. I'm certainly worried about the Ole Miss offense, but to be fair, they have played terrible defenses so far, aside from Kentucky, and we will see how that played out. I think Ole Miss will not finish with the top-ranked offense in the SEC.
Yeah.
It'll probably be Tennessee.
Well, these rankings, it needs time to equal out, right?
Sure.
A lot of these teams have played nobodies. Tennessee beat the doors off of Chattanooga.
And by the way, Tennessee's right behind Ole Miss.
Yeah, you look at these Tennessee offenses, and they're certainly skewed by the opponents that they've played thus far through the season.
And Ole Miss has played one more game than Tennessee, Diesel. So the two aren't far apart. Let's look at total yards. Passing-wise, Ole Miss has a large advantage, but simply because of Jackson Dart. But total yards, Ole Miss has put up 3,036 yards in 2024, which is a lot of yards. Tennessee has put up 2,263. Obviously, you can add about 300 to 400 to that if they would have played one more game. But to JD's point, Ole Miss may not finish number one in total offense. Alabama right now is 5th. They're fifth in the SEC, Diesel, in total offense. So I think certainly Alabama will continue to rise, and Ole Miss against South Carolina's defense. It's certainly fascinating when you talk about this number one offense because you mentioned the opponents. To be fair, the Gamecocks defense, they've been tested against a really good quarterback and a really good offense that ranks inside the top 10 in the SEC from LSU. So this defense, and I know Lenora Sellers' health super important. You mentioned that earlier as well. But I believe South Carolina's defense comes into this game feeling confident because of what they've already seen. However, Ole Miss and Jackson Dart, you let them get going, you give Jackson Dart time, that's where you're going to struggle. But Diesel, to your point a few minutes ago, I do think a huge emphasis on this game is the health of Lenora Sellers. He's got to be out there for all four quarters, unlike the LSU game.
Yeah, it's going to be a fascinating game to watch. Can't wait for it. I know JD mentioned something here about prospects. I know South Carolina is probably going to be hosting a handful of prospects at this game. Man, what an environment to host those guys. What's
your early lean in terms of how you're feeling? I say early. Today's Thursday, so we're 2 days away. In terms of what you think the outcome will be. You don't have to give me an official score prediction, but what way are you leaning?
I'm leaning Ole Miss wins this ball game.
Okay.
But I'm thinking we're going to see a game probably where both teams are scoring in the low 30s, high 20s, and which is an exciting football game. And I think Ole Miss wins this one by a touchdown.
South Carolina Diesel needs to score how many points to beat Ole Miss?
38.
Wow.
38.
I'll tell you this. I don't think that happens. Yeah,
it's going to be tough.
I really don't.
That's what they need to score. I think Ole Miss probably scores around 35 points on South Carolina in this game. And but I think South Carolina probably scores more like 24.
No, I'm with you.
Yeah.
I think it will be close.
So 30, if I had to call it now, 35-24 Ole Miss.
I don't hate it. I don't hate it at all.
That's keeping it within a touchdown and a field goal. When we come back, Cole, we want to reach out to some of the Tolos who didn't get their upset picks in last week. We understand that Friday certainly affected a lot of people. We want to do a little all hands on deck, APB, on a couple of Tolos that we don't have picks for. We'll get you next, and we'll look at the top 5 this week, and who do we think will be in it next week? That's next, right here on the Fan Upstate. Understandably so, Cole. We had a record number of no picks last week in the Upset Picks Challenge. There's a handful of our Tolos who like to get their picks in on Fridays. And Friday, we were dealing with the first day of aftermath of Hurricane Helene. So we want to make sure that we go back and try to catch any of these picks that you sent in, but we couldn't see on Friday. Our system should keep text messages for 90 days, but for some reason, text that came in on Friday did not get saved. So you Tolos, who we don't have picks for from last week, we're looking to possibly go back and readjust your scores if you got in a pick or if you didn't get in a pick. So Kevin Buggs, Ty Duncan 864, Notre Dame Nate, Isaac, Shane Connick, Chase G, Vance M, MD 75, Will G, Dab Daddy, Ethan Reed, Shane and Sugar Tit, and Nashty.
You know who else is on? We didn't put on that list?
Who?
Rob Brown.
Oh,
remember, he gave us
Rob's
a pick
like
the week
close.
before.
I tried. I texted Rob the week that he was out getting married. I texted Rob.
No pick.
I said, I know you're getting married, but this is important. I need to pick from you.
You know what we should do in the 4:00 segment today when we do upset picks? We should call Rob unannounced on air and get his pick.
So yeah, we should. You know, he does this whole what is it? Gaslighting thing where he's like, well, if I had been invited to be on the challenge, I totally would be making picks in the challenge.
Hopefully he's not listening. We'll call him in the 4:00 segment, put him live on the air and put him on the spot.
So those Tolos that I just mentioned, we cannot see if you went back and made a pick on Friday of last week. So if you did, we want to especially give you points if you got the win, but we want to adjust those of you who maybe lost 2 points because you didn't get a pick in at all to maybe just 1 point if you got your pick in, but it was incorrect. So if your name was on that list and you did make a pick, take a screenshot of it. You can email it to me, diesel@thefanupstate.com. You can tag any of our social medias at the Fan Upstate, at Diesel on Radio, and we will make sure that we go back and adjust your scores. Those P1s, those Tolos are the only ones we're looking for week number 5. For the rest of you, though, we're looking for your week 6 upset picks. You can do that right now by going to ESPN.com, finding a game that you think will end in a betting underdog winning the game outright. Then text in at 71307 with your name, your game, and the spread, and you'll be set and ready to go for week number 6.
I have mine. I'm giving it at 4:00.
God, so you need 24 hours extra?
No, I need more than that.
That's so bogus.
I need more than that. I need all the help I can get.
That's so bogus. Okay, so the AP Top 25, we know who is in the top 10. We got Alabama number 1, Texas number 2, Ohio State 3, Tennessee 4, Georgia 5, Oregon is 6, Penn State is 7, Miami is 8, Missouri 9, and Michigan number 10. Cole, do we think any of these teams are in danger of going down this weekend? And do we think any of these teams are potentially have the opportunity to rise in the AP poll? The hard thing about the matchups that we have this weekend is that we only have one top 25 matchup, and that would be Missouri at Texas A&M. So there's obviously some room for movement for Missouri at number 9, up or down. But the question is, Cole, when you look at the AP top 25 as it currently sits, or the top 10 as it currently sits, what are the opportunities in your mind that you think a game is sort of at a 60-40, 50-50 split where there's a chance either way, no matter what happens in the outcome, that one of these teams is going to move up or down in the AP top 10?
I think the easy answer is 12:00 noon. Missouri at A&M. That game is a 2.5-point spread. Diesel, Texas A&M, who is ranked 25th in the country, is hosting Missouri on Saturday. I know we touched on this yesterday, but Missouri's 4-0, 1-0 in conference. You would think that Missouri would be a slight favorite even on the road against A&M. However, they're not. A&M's favored by 2.5 to an undefeated Missouri team to answer your question, the easy answer, there's a few more in the top 10 that I could see happening, but the easy answer is number 9, Missouri, falling to Texas A&M on Saturday at noon in a game where that spread to me really doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, so I look at this, Cole. I want to start at Ohio State at number 3. I think there's a chance because they're playing a 3-1 Iowa. Not a great chance, but there's a chance that Iowa wins on the road at Ohio State.
I looked at that.
If that happens, clearly Ohio State is going to fall. Outside of the top 10, I don't know, because it's still a 3-1 Iowa team, and they don't really penalize top 5 teams for losing that much. I mean, Georgia lost. They dropped from 2 to 5.
Yeah.
I think that happens. Ohio State probably falls to maybe 6 at the lowest. Ohio State, though, if they win, and they win convincingly in Columbus against Iowa, I think there's a chance we see Ohio State jump to number 2. The Texas is coming off a bye. There's still all those same questions about Texas with Arch Manning as a quarterback, not Quinn Ewers.
Yeah.
The situation there is fluid with Quinn Ewers' injury. I think there's a chance, Cole, that next week, post week 6, we see Ohio State as the number 2 team in the country.
I don't hate that, but let me ask you this. If I asked you which, in your opinion, had a better chance of happening, that or Missouri losing to A&M, what would you say?
Oh, Missouri losing.
You think so? That'd be easier?
Oh, yeah. Missouri is gettable right at this
point.
But
why are they the underdogs?
That doesn't make any sense. And I want to ask Kelley Ford about that later on today. What does he see in all of his profiles and his analytics on these two teams?
And that's a Vegas.
Says why A&M is this close.
Well,
right?
This is number 9 versus 25. So if somebody that didn't know a lot about sports heard me and you saying the number 9 team, I know it's the 12th man, I know it's at A&M, but are you telling me A&M hosting a home game has that much added value for Vegas for
I
the
would
bookies?
think so, yeah.
But that's 9 versus 25.
But it's Kyle Field. It's the 12th man.
Oh, Johnny Manziel ain't trotting out there, though. I'm telling you that. I don't know. If I had to pick that game right now, I would lean Missouri. However, I haven't been super impressed. I don't know if you can find a game on the slate this weekend that's more of a coin flip, hard-to-pick game than that one. I've been back and forth. A&M hasn't looked bad. I mean, they're 2-0 in SEC play. They're 4-1 overall. I just cannot figure out. I like Cook at quarterback for Missouri. I think he's a really good quarterback, but I can't figure that one out. To your Iowa-Ohio State game, I don't hate that. I do think Ohio State has a chance to move up because of Texas's bye, but boy, how bad would that be for the Longhorns, Diesel, if you have a bye week and you drop? I mean, you don't even play and you drop in the rankings. I mean, what are you a victim of there?
It's the victim of Quinn Ewers being injured.
Okay.
That's all it is. And remember, a lot of people are putting a lot of stock in this. This is still very fluid. A lot of these teams coming off of a very weak out-of-conference schedule. They got gassed up by playing nobodies to this point, and they're just now starting to get into level playing field competition. So now we're finally starting to learn who these teams really are. I mean, look at what happened to Ole Miss. They were torching teams until they played a decent SEC team in Kentucky. And that's a team that actually a lot of people didn't even think was decent. They thought they were going to be a bad football team this year. But once they get into SEC play, it certainly changed things for them. I also, Cole, look at the Tennessee Arkansas game. Tennessee is by far the better team.
Sure.
But Arkansas is a game football team this year, right? They're 3-2. They've won. They beat Auburn on the road. I think there's a chance, being that this game is being played at Arkansas, I think there's a chance that Tennessee goes down. I think there's an upset opportunity here. It's not a great chance. But I like it a little bit. So I think Tennessee would certainly fall. Outside of that, Cole, I'm not looking at any of these games.
What about Cal Miami?
Not a chance.
No.
Not a chance. I'm looking at if Georgia beats the tar out of Auburn, but Alabama, Texas being on a bye, and Ohio State and Tennessee goes chalk, Georgia's not jumping any of those teams, right? Penn State's not going to jump anybody by beating the crap out of a 1-3 UCLA. Miami probably not going to jump anybody, assuming things ahead of them go chalk. Miami's not going to jump anybody either by beating a 3-1 Cal.
Can I ask you a question about Washington, Michigan without looking? Don't look down because I don't want you to know, or I don't want you to cheat if you don't know already, Diesel. But right now, have you looked at the Washington, Michigan spread? Do you know what it is off the top of your head without looking?
I think Washington's 3-2, right?
Washington's 3-2, unranked.
I'm going to say that spread is probably Michigan favored by 10.
Okay, I'm glad you said that.
Maybe my guess.
Washington's favored by
no
2.5.
No way.
So there's a top 10 for you.
Wow.
Michigan's 10. Just like the A&M Missouri game, the home team Diesel in Washington, home team, Kalen DeBoer's not there anymore. Michael Penix Jr. is not there anymore.
True.
They're favored by 2. And that I don't know if Kelley Ford has the answer, but what in the world gives you such an advantage being at home that you are now favored over an unranked Washington team is favored over number 10 in the country, and then number 25 A&M's favored over number 9 Missouri?
Yeah, I feel like I'm coming out of a bubble, honestly. And we all probably feel like we're coming out of a bubble of not watching any college football last week because I didn't watch anything. Yeah. All I have to go off of right now, and we just got power back yesterday, and sorry, I haven't binge watched all of the week 5 games
in
yet.
24 hours.
I do plan on going back and obviously watching Georgia, Alabama. That's a fantastic football game.
The ending.
Kind of go back and watch the last quarter of Miami, Virginia Tech, just so that I could relive what I saw that play on social media a lot, but I didn't actually watch the game. But it feels like, I'm kind of reemerging from a cocoon a little bit and going into week 6. I can actually get to sit down and watch football.
No, I'm with you. I was fortunate enough last week to be at a buddies who did have power, so I was able to watch a good bit, but I still feel like I'm eager. I still feel like I'm hungry for it because, I do believe football, getting to the Storm conversation, which we'll get back to in the next break, Diesel, I believe football does that, right? I'm not saying all football games should be played during a storm or after a storm, but I do believe sports has a unique ability, Diesel, to bring people together, whether you agree or disagree with Clemson's game being played last Saturday or right after the storm. Sports and football in particular have a way of rallying. You look at what happened post 9/11. I remember the games up in, I believe it was Boston. I can't remember exactly the teams, but a lot of games happened.
Wasn't it like Giants Patriots? It was a New York
something
team
like
playing.
that. Just brought the country together. So football has the ability to do that, and hopefully for those impacted by Helene, football this weekend can certainly do that.
Yeah. Again, those of you who have your power back, those of you who have everything back to normal, or even if you just have generators and a tailgate set up, maybe invite some friends over who are still struggling this weekend and give them an opportunity through sports to feel a little bit normal just for a couple of hours.
Absolutely. We'll get into the conversation. If any Tolos out there know of any places that are still providing food or essentials, I want to open it up to you in the very next segment to talk about that, and we'll give you Tolos updates on what's happening here in the Upstate. Want to get into ways for you Tolos to get help, assistance, essentials this weekend, the rest of this week if needed. Our Tolos have done just a fantastic job all week long, texting into the show at 71307 keyword fan, letting Diesel and I know of ways, places, outreach centers, churches, doing things for the community. We've been flooded with text all week long. So in this segment, before we hit the bottom of the hour, please let us know if you know of any of those areas, especially this weekend, as we won't be on air. If you know of places this weekend that are helping out, please do so. We'll get into that, but let's go to the Renewal by Anderson of the Carolinas fan phone, where we have Bill, who wants to make his upset pick. Bill, what's up, man?
Not much, gentlemen. How y'all doing today?
Good,
Great,
man.
Bill.
On the board last week with Colorado. This week I'm going Syracuse plus 6.5 over UNLV.
Ooh,
Good pick.
Wait a
Good
minute.
pick, Bill.
Syracuse
I like
is
that
the
one.
underdog.
I know, right? That one doesn't make any sense. UNLV's got two players out.
Okay, let me reassess my pick. Bill, by the way, thanks
Syracuse
for
isn't a crappy football team.
No, I like that a lot, Bill.
Well, I have no idea why UNLV is still up by 6.5, considering two of their better players are out for the week.
Right. Hey, I like it. Listen, Bill. I had my upset pick that I was giving at 4:00, but now you've made it really hard on me.
Hey, Bill, just so that we can make sure we have you separate from anybody else who's texting in or who's in the challenge under the name Bill. What's your last name or your last initial?
Horn, Horn.
Okay, Bill Horn. Gotcha.
That way we don't have two Bills and get you mixed up.
Not a problem, gentlemen. I appreciate it. This has been fun all year so far.
Appreciate
Thanks,
you,
Bill. I like his pick. I really do.
You think?
I like that one a lot. I thought about
Crap.
going that one until I saw the Duke line,
Crap.
which also doesn't make any sense to me. That is locked in at
God.
9 points.
Oh, I'm stressed now. My
Locked in at
palms
9.
are sweaty now.
Okay, Eminem. Mom spaghetti, huh?
You're gonna say, Tolo Steve, we'll get back to the upset picks in 10 minutes from now. Excuse me. We'll get back. Yeah. Upset picks 10 minutes from now. Texter says, hey, Diesel, I just emailed you a list of places in Spartanburg County serving food. Tolo Steve.
Yep. Tolo Steve. I got it. And I was waiting on Cole. We were talking about storm events here.
Yeah.
Okay. So meals that are being served today in Spartanburg County, Dorman High School, 1050 Cavalier Way in Roebuck, Cowpens Elementary School, that's at 341 Foster Street in Cowpens, USC Upstate on Hodge Drive in Spartanburg,
Okay.
Spartanburg Memorial Auditorium, that's 385 North Church Street in Spartanburg, Landrum Baptist Church on East Rutherford Street. Those locations are serving meals right now in Spartanburg County. So if you're in need, if everything in your refrigerator and freezer went bad because you couldn't power them over the last couple of days and you're still out of power, those are some great locations. Dorman High School, Cowpens Elementary, USC Upstate, Spartanburg Memorial Auditorium, and Landrum Baptist Church.
Tolo Steve, really appreciate that.
Thank
man.
you, Steve.
Really appreciate you doing that. Means a lot. Because
somebody's going to eat tonight because
absolutely.
Because Tolo Steve said
absolutely.
that.
Again, that's what we want to do. We want to spread the word. We want to spread the word on what's going on and how you Tolos can get assistance if you know people who need assistance. Diesel DB was asking. We have the same Bill Horn.
Yeah, it's the same Billy Horn.
Okay. We already got him, DB. Let's see. Joe on the stream asked, good question, Joe. Jersey Joe wants to know if the Saturday morning scramble will still go on this Saturday with no football being played. Joe, I appreciate you asking that because I've done a terrible job at giving that PSA this week. Yes. Saturday scramble still happening Saturday morning. In fact, I have a interview lined up Saturday at 9 a.m. As Joe, there are a lot of questions about high school football. I have an interview lined up for 9 a.m. Saturday morning with Jerome Singleton, the South Carolina High School League Commissioner. So we will see you on Saturday morning. Again, a reminder, if you need relief or know someone that does, you can text the word relief, RELIEF, to 71307. Again, that's relief to 71307. A link will be sent to your phone with more ways in the upstate that you can get relief. So if you need that, we've had hundreds this week come in on the text line, and really appreciate those that are all coming together at churches and community events to reach out and serve food and give essentials and all that kind of stuff, man. That it gives me goosebumps when I see all of these events going on, because that's what we're supposed to do in these times of need.
Yeah, and we appreciate Tolo Steve for getting us that list of places in Spartanburg County where you can get meals. If anyone wants to share specifically things that are going on in other counties here in the upstate, in Greenville County, in Anderson County, Pickens County, places like that, up towards the mountains that got hit harder than we did here in Greenville County, please send those our way, and we will pass those along as best we can. But make sure you send us stuff that you know for a fact that is confirmed that is happening right now and this evening and over the weekend. That way we're not just sending something, we're not sending hearsay out and sending people on wild goose chases,
No doubt about it.
When we come back, Cole, it is time officially to get you, Tolos, who haven't yet sent in your week 6 picks, to do so.
And
mine, tease you a little bit.
maybe.
Cole,
Maybe.
Cole's going to give his. That's coming up next here on the Fan Upstate. Week 6 upset picks. Need yours. 71307. Start your text with keyword fan. Give me your name, your game,
Jersey Joe,
and the spread. We use ESPN.com. What am I talking about? Well, some of you Tolos are here every single day, and you know all about the Upset Picks Challenge brought to you by Ingles. Some of you Tolos, though, are finding us every single week, and you're like, tell me more about this challenge. Well, it is an Upset Picks challenge that you can jump into at any point of the season. We just would advise you don't jump in at the beginning of the season and then not play the rest of the year, because you might lose all your points by not making any picks. So you can get into this challenge right now. You still got a lot of football left to be played, and you can work your way up the leaderboard, which has about 85 Tolos out of the total 150 or so who have made at least one pick this year. The 150 unique Tolos who have gotten in an upset pick. You could move your way up the leaderboard very, very quickly. There's an opportunity, Cole, with some very winnable upset picks this week that could certainly move you up to at least halfway in the others receiving votes category. So we have a top 30, and it looks just like when you're looking at the top 25 on the AP poll. We have a top 30, and then we have a section underneath, smaller font, sort of an others with points category. And you can move up into the middle of that others with points category this week with some winnable picks. And then next week, if you get more right, you can make your way up into the top 15 and 20.
I've really had a struggle lately, and we're going to get to Jersey Joe in a second with his upset pick. But I've struggled lately, like this week and last week, with the ideology, Diesel, of trying to go big, swing for the fences, and go ahead and get like a 17-pointer. But what's the chances that happens? They're so slim. Kentucky did it. Yeah. Kentucky beat Ole Miss last week. But I'm trying to stay true to, look, there's still plenty of time left in the college football season. Just keep stacking the blocks, right? Keep laying the bricks. And maybe if you can get those 6 to 9ers every few weeks, you can work your way up.
7-8 games for a lot of these teams left. Plus, we're including bowl games, and we're including college football playoff games. Sure. So still a lot of time left. If you have not yet jumped into this challenge, you can do so. You can work your way up the board. So those of you who don't know, go to ESPN.com. We actually locked the spreads in as of 3 o'clock yesterday, so that everyone who picks the same game on Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday will get the same number of points. If the line has moved on us a little bit, up or down a point, half a point, whatever it is, you're all going to get the same number of points if you pick the same game. So go there to ESPN.com, find a game where you think the betting underdog is going to win the game outright. And if they do, you will get the points by which that team was an underdog added to your rolling season-long tally. So, for example, we have Tigerville Bo, who texted in earlier during the show, and he said he wants Stanford over Virginia Tech for 7.5 points. And if Stanford wins that game, who's the favorite in that one? Stanford's the favorite. If Virginia Tech wins that game, then he will get 7.5 points added to his season-long tally. Also with Dan B., he says he wants Troy plus 13 over Texas State. If Troy upsets Texas State, Dan B gets 13 points. And, man, those are big hitters. Anything over about 8 or 9 points, that's a big hitter, and those can help you move up the leaderboard quickly.
And Virginia Tech, Diesel, favored by 7.5 over Stanford. Let's go.
Okay, so, he's taking Stanford.
That's right.
So if Stanford wins, he gets 7.5 points.
Let's go to the renewal by Anderson of the Carolinas fan phone, 844-326-3663. Jersey Joe wants to make his upset pick. What's up, Jersey Joe?
Gentlemen, how you guys doing today?
Great, man. Joe.
I'm doing great. Hey, I'm going to take SMU getting 6.5 over Louisville.
Ooh. What makes you confident in that one, Joe? Why'd you pick that one?
I don't know. SMU they look good this year. They really do.
Now, SMU and who?
Louisville.
Yeah, I don't hate that. Just to let you know, Joe, I've gone back and forth. I did look at that game. I'm supposed to give my upset pick in this segment, but I like that pick. And that is a 12 o'clock nooner game, 6.5 points in favor of the Cardinals. I don't hate that at all.
Yeah.
He's got a good point here. They put up 42 on Florida State. They put up 66 on TCU. This SMU team can score. They've looked bad a couple of times. They beat Nevada. They didn't look good in that game. They didn't look good against BYU, but this SMU team can score. So that's not a bad pick, Joe.
Thanks for the call, Joe.
Thank you, sir.
All right, man.
Yep. And I want to make sure all of you Tolos know Bill called in as just Bill. Make sure that every single week you send in, whether you text it in or whether you call it in, make sure you give us the same name the same way. So, for example, if you called in one week as, I'm just going to use Bill as an example. If you called in as Bill, well, the next week you call in as Bill from Simpsonville, we're going to think that's a different Bill.
Yeah, same
okay?
name.
So we're certainly not going back and making sure who is who. We're not tracking phone numbers or anything like that. So make sure when you call in, you give us the same name, the same way every single time.
So here's my issue. I've got a big issue. A lot of people would argue have more than one, but one of the issues I have right now, Diesel, the Syracuse UNLV game, it's very intriguing to me. I do like Syracuse in that over UNLV. However, I told you just a minute ago, I'm struggling here. It's only 6.5.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just wondering, I'm curious as to of right now, and maybe it does, maybe I'm just hit the panic button way too soon. I don't know if 6.5 is going to do me much good.
Well,
let me look at the standings.
See, that's the flaw in your thinking, Cole.
You think so?
You're thinking, okay, I have to go for the big ones now. I'm not going to have a chance to win. But you're also not considering that some of these Tolos who have been on heaters to this point of the season, talking to you, Amazon guy, Twisted Whisker, Noel, Justin, Greenville Gamecock, all of you guys sitting up there with 25 points or plus. Some of those could cool off.
They could.
And they could lose some points down the stretch. So if you're stacking these smaller ones worth 5, 6, 7, 8 points, then you might be able to jump up. And that's the strategy, right? That's what makes this game so much fun. Like if I'm Buckeye Brian or if I'm Justin L and I'm sitting right there in the top 5, now I'm starting to pick games where I think it's a smaller spread, the 3, 4, 5 point spreads, because that mitigates my risk of falling back, and it increases my chances of adding a little bit to my lead.
Well, here's the problem, though. I'm looking at the standings now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even see my name.
There was a problem with the graphic. You are on the list, Cole.
Whereabouts?
I think you had 7.5 points.
Okay, so
something
that would
like
put
that.
Me, oh god,
that puts you somewhere around like 35th.
No, not doing it. I'm not doing it. I can't do it. I cannot pick Syracuse. I know that Syracuse probably is going to beat UNLV, but what is 6.5 going to do if I'm at 30? I've got to go big.
Yeah, but
I've got to go big.
But if you got 6.5 points, Cole, and you've already got 7, that puts you at 13, 14 points.
Oh.
And so now you're knocking on the door of getting into the top 30.
I don't have patience. I don't have patience.
M. Nocter says 3 points in a cloud of dust.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. I hate this game. I hate this challenge. I hate this so much. I really do like Syracuse.
So Wesley asked the question. Wesley Roberts asked the question. Yes, we got your pick. We try to read as many of them on the air as we possibly can, but we got MD75 today. These are the picks from just today.
Yeah.
MD75 taking Duke over Georgia Tech. Tigerville Bo is taking Stanford over Virginia Tech. Wesley Roberts wants SMU over Louisville. Dan B is taking Troy over Texas State. Brandon Burnett taking South Carolina over Ole Miss. Let's see. JT Ingrier wants Stanford over Virginia Tech. Sparty Party 12 taking Baylor for 12 over Iowa State. That's a big one, man. You hit that one, Sparty Party, you're going to be sitting pretty.
Yeah.
Ben in Simpsonville wants Southern Miss plus 15.5 over Louisiana. Southern Miss sucks this year. It's so hard. It's so bad to watch a program with as much history as Southern Miss struggle. But they're 15.5 point dogs against Louisiana. But that's what Ben in Simpsonville wants. To see Tyler B wants SMU over Louisville. Billy Horn taking Syracuse plus 6.5 against UNLV. Buckeye Mike is rolling with me, taking Duke plus 9 over Georgia Tech. Let's see here. Maddie M from Gaffney taking UL Monroe plus 16 over James Madison. That's a big one. I don't think you're going to hit on that.
That's a big one.
Unless James Madison from week 1 shows up. I don't think you're going to hit
or 2 years
on that one. And then let's see. Jersey Joe took SMU +7 over Louisville. And remember, guys, these spreads are locked in. So if you send us 6.5 and the spread as of 3:00 yesterday was 7 points, you're actually going to get the 7 points.
And now tell me yours again.
Mine was Duke over Georgia Tech for 9. So Duke are 9-point road dogs. Duke's 5-0.
They are
5-0 over they're 9-point road dogs against Georgia Tech, playing in that dumpster of a football stadium. Georgia Tech's lost 2 out of their last 3. This is one of these ones. I got to ask Kelley Ford about this. What does he know? What does Vegas know that I don't know? Because I can't figure out why. Is it just because Duke has a new head coach? It's not Mike Elko. It's Manny Diaz now. I can't figure this out.
You know what? I don't hate that one. However, I do think Georgia Tech wins. But you're right; they're undefeated. They've actually played well.
What about Georgia Tech makes you think that they're going to win this game?
Their coach. I like the way they're coached.
I do too. I like Brent Key.
I think they're well coached. I think they have confidence as well. I really do. There have been a few that you just read, Diesel, that went Baylor, Iowa State. Is that true? Iowa State favored by 13?
There was one. Who was it? Baylor over. It was Sparty Party 12.
Sparty Party 12. Going Baylor and Iowa State. God. I'm so frustrated. I just wish you could sense my frustration.
I can.
Now. No, you can't.
The awkward silences when you're going through all this in your mind.
I'm so
mad. It's so fun.
All right. I've got to make a pick.
Yeah, you have to. You got 10 seconds.
All right. So don't
9,
do that.
8.
Here, I got
7,
one better than that. Here,
6.
Better than that. Somewhere I have a very good Jeopardy theme, but I can't find it, of course. I tell you, I was very interested. There it is. I was. This adds to the pressure.
Make it harder?
It does. It really does. All right. This adds to the pressure with a Jeopardy theme music. But I do have several in my head that I've looked at. I did look at the one that Sparty Party chose. However, I'm not going with that one.
Okay.
I'm not going with Sparty Party there. I am going Diesel with Purdue over Wisconsin. Wisconsin is favored by 13.5 points.
Okay.
Noon or o'clock on Saturday on BTN, whatever BTN
Big
is.
Ten Network.
Big Ten Network.
You know what the first game ever was broadcast on Big Ten
No, I
Network?
have no idea.
It was App State, Michigan.
Really?
Mhm.
Oh, what a won the broadcast.
Yeah.
I'm going Purdue. Give me the Boilermakers on Saturday.
Wow.
13.5 points. I've got to have something 10. Look, from this day forward, the rest of the year, I've got to have 10 plus points. I cannot go anything less than 10. Less than 10 does not do me any good.
See, you're flailing right now, Cole.
Well,
you're guilty of flailing. And that's what starts to happen around week number 7 or 8 of the season. People start flailing. They start going for the 20-pointers. And see, you're guilty of doing what our good friend of the show, Josh Pate, did last year. Josh sucked at this contest last year. And he got to week number 8, I think, with almost no points. And he was flailing. He was trying to take these big 20-pointers, these 15-pointers, and it wasn't working out for him. This year, Josh is doing well. I don't know who he sold something valuable to get all this intel, but Josh Pate is sitting in second place with 38 points.
It's pretty good. So here's the issue with Wisconsin, Purdue, Diesel. Wisconsin's a big favorite in this game, as they should be. Purdue's only won one time this season. Purdue's lost 3 consecutive games. I am banking on the same way that I play roulette, and if there's 3 or 4 straight blacks in a row or 3 or 4 straight reds in a row, I'm banking on this thing to flip, right? It's got to flip. If it goes 5, 6, 7 runs, when I play roulette, I love watching the runs. Sometimes I'll sit out, Diesel, and I'll watch for runs. If I go like 6 or 7 runs of red in a row, I'm going to put heavy on black, right? The run's got to end. Purdue's lost 3 in a row. The run has to end. They were rocked by 18 against Nebraska in the conference opener. I get that. I don't have a ton of faith here, but I'm just playing this the same way that I play roulette, and a lot of times that doesn't end up good either. But
Texter says Purdue really sucks, man. Sorry.
I know. But you know what, Texter? A lot of teams that suck somehow win.
So when you play roulette, you don't spread it out. You put a little here,
Every
a little there,
now
a
and
little
then I
there.
do. However, like I just played the other day at Two Kings. The problem with spreading it out is I find myself losing more than I win when I spread it out.
I think if you spread it out, you're betting more. You're not winning enough back, so you're going to hit maybe on one of these bets. But if you put 5 bets out there, you've now lost on 4 bets.
That's right.
And so you end up losing more money that way.
And I've also done like $20 and covered the board in 20. And then I think you win 16 if you do that, if my math serves correctly, because it's 36 minus 20, something like that. So I like going that. But here's the deal with black and red. You can go, it's not exactly 50-50 because you have the chances of hitting on the green 0 or the double 0, but it's close to 50-50, right? It's close.
Yeah.
I don't love this pick, but God almighty, I got to do something. I mean, I got to have something happen.
That's Cole's first God almighty.
They're not going to win. They're not going to lose 4 in a row, are they? Purdue? Are they going to lose 4 in a row? I mean, come on.
Now that you've picked them, they will.
They have a weak offense that scored 21 or fewer points in 3 straight games, so they're going to have to win this game defensively. The Badgers have a really good defense. Wisconsin has a decent rushing offense. They're averaging 155 yards per game, Diesel. So it's set up for Wisconsin to win. However, I'm not picking this game because I think Purdue's going to win. I'm picking the game because it's 13.5, and I got to have a freaking Hail Mary.
See, I picked mine, Cole, because I'm sitting at 17 points. If I hit with Duke over Georgia Tech, I'm at 26 points. And depending on what happens with everybody above me, Cole, I could now be sitting inside the top 10 if I hit this one. I'd be feeling real good about myself.
You've done good. 2 weeks in a row, right?
Yeah. Well, 3 weeks in a row because I've already hit 2.
Yeah.
This could be my 3rd straight win in a row.
That'd be impressive. It really would. Let's see. DB says 14, Cole, if that helps you. M. Nocter on Twitter talking about Duke says Murphy's a good quarterback and they play a decent defense. I also like Georgia Tech, but I feel Duke is going to win. Diesel, I haven't scored a single point yet. It might not be a good thing. I picked the same as you, Buckeye Mike.
Well, Buckeye Mike, we ride together, we die together. Whatever happens, man.
I like it. All right, we're going to go to the expert. Kelley Ford of KFordRatings joins us next. We just got through with our upset picks. I attempted to make mine. I don't know what will happen. We'll see. Who knows? It's kind of like a shot in the dark at this point. But if you struggle like I do, I can just tell you one thing. Go to KFordRatings.com. Kelley Ford, absolute best. We bring him on right now. Kelley, I know you've been doing this a while now. When it comes to idiots like me who struggle with their upset picks, I have no idea what strategies to use. I mean, I've tried everything. Now I'm just picking the biggest upsets in terms of point spreads. What advice? I know you can't give me a ton, but can you give me something, man? I just needed something to nibble on. I'm struggling.
Yeah, guys. Well, it's something that people struggle with every day across the country, and there's a lot of folks out there that want to get an edge in gambling, right? And so I would say just, as a general rule of thumb, I would check out a couple of different power rating systems. Of course, I'm going to pub up my own KFord Ratings, KFordRatings.com, but there's lots out there. And I have the utmost respect for Bill Connolly with SP+, Brian Vermeau, FEI, ESPN's FPI. I know people like to bag on that. It's actually a pretty good metric when you really drill down into its absolute air. There are a lot of metrics out there that you can look at. Just go look at a few of those power ratings and see what the projected spread is. Because if you can find, 2 or 3 different power ratings that suggest there's a little bit of value in an upset pick, meaning if the models are suggesting that South Carolina, for example, is a 2-point underdog to Ole Miss this weekend, but Vegas says that it's Ole Miss -6, then there's a little bit of value there on South Carolina, right? So I think aggregating power rating models and seeing, is there a game or two out there where the consensus from the power raters is there is value to be had against the Vegas line? That might work for you. You have to ask yourself, though, is there a reason Vegas is on this and all the power ratings are? Is there some player suspension, or is the weather projecting to be really bad? Something like that. So you can't just take it as the end-all, be-all. But that would be my advice. Look at the power ratings, see if there's a game or two that all seem to agree on, and that's a good starting point for that kind of thinking.
Well, Kelley, I'm glad that you mentioned the word reason there, because I need a reason why 5-0 Duke are 9-point road dogs to Georgia Tech, a squad that's now lost 2 out of 3. And both of those losses have been against power opponents. They won one in between, kind of like an Oreo of suckitude against VMI. Duke is my upset pick. What am I not seeing in that game? What do they still like so much about Georgia Tech?
Honestly, this is a game I didn't have on my bingo card for our conversation, but thanks to the I've been able to pull it up on the website, and I'm looking at the 2 team sheets here. So I do have Georgia Tech with a 62% win expectancy. That is certainly not going to equate to a 9-point favorite in the line. So I do think there is value at 9 points in taking Duke as an underdog pick here. But Georgia Tech is the favorite for me. And if you look at the power rating, yes, Georgia Tech is 3-2. Yes, Duke is 5-0. Guys, Duke is 3-0 in 1-score games. They have a double overtime win on the road at Northwestern. They have a 1-score win at home against UConn. And they have, of course, the comeback last week at home against North Carolina. It's a great win for Duke, but they are winning a lot of close games. What power rating models will suggest is that is typically not sustainable. You look at Georgia Tech, they are 1-1 in such games. And then if you look at the actual units involved in this game, the best unit here is probably the Duke defense. Shoot, it might be the Georgia Tech offense, though. It's strength versus strength. It's number 17 versus number 18. And you flip it around the other way, it's number 86 versus number 88. So, guys, there is really not a lot separating these 2 teams from a power rating standpoint. In my model, the difference might honestly be Georgia Tech's at home, and they got the home field advantage there. Georgia Tech, it is worth noting, is coming off of an off week. Duke is not. They're coming off that roller coaster win against North Carolina. So perhaps Georgia Tech is rested. Duke, they're going to be on a high. Can they sustain that, or do they come back down to earth? Maybe that is driving this line up, but I do think there's a value here on Duke at that number.
One we talked about earlier that Diesel and I couldn't wrap our head around. Obviously, A&M Missouri is interesting with A&M. You just mentioned that home field advantage, Kelley, with Missouri not being favored because maybe A&M's at home. But number 10 Michigan at Washington. Washington's unranked. I know they're 3-2, a good team, but Kalen DeBoer's not there. Michael Penix Jr. is not there. Washington's favored over number 10 Michigan by 2.5. Kelley, help us wrap our mind around this one.
Michigan favored by 2.5. I do have Michigan as the favorite, but again, I wouldn't make it 2.5 points.
Washington's favored by 2.5.
Yeah. Washington, excuse me, you said Washington's favored by 2.5.
Yeah.
I don't like that at all. I've got Michigan as a 55% win expectancy. So that favors Michigan, by a point or two. So I think there's value here, and it crosses 0. So if you're going to be doing this one, again, I'm not in this space for the gambling advice, the sports wagering, but if you're going to be looking at this game and Washington's the favorite, I mean, Michigan, for me, money line makes a little bit of sense. Yes, they are on the road. As you said, this is Michigan's first game outside of the Big House all year. Guys, it is October 5th.
Yeah.
And Michigan has not played a game outside of Ann Arbor yet. This is their first road trip. You look at Washington, though, just last week, they were in New Jersey on a Friday night playing Rutgers, a game that honestly Washington probably should have won. They did not. So I don't think that Washington is as bad as the 3-2 record suggests. They are 0-2 in one-score games. Michigan 2-0 in one-score games. So there is something there, but I still think Michigan's the better team. I do expect both defenses to have the advantage in this game. Not sure how many points are going to be scored, but I do like Michigan actually as a road dog here to win it outright if you're going strictly off what my model says.
He has by far got the biggest hat size of the three of us, and I say that because that means he's got the biggest brain. Kelley Ford of KFordRatings. Go to his website, spend some time there, KFordRatings.com. You can bounce around, get all kinds of metric and merch on his website as well. But Kelley, I'm looking at your current playoff bracket, and this one, it's got me a little bent out of shape. I understand that there's a difference between resume versus predictive, but as of right now, your playoff bracket has BYU in as a 1 seed and UNLV as the 3 seed. Explain yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And guys, you're not the first ones to ask about this. On Tuesdays, I put out the current college football playoff bracket based on my most deserving rankings. And then on Thursday, so today, I just released my projected college football playoff bracket. So what do I actually expect? What are my numbers expected to be at the end of the season? That's Thursday content. You're asking about the Tuesday. That is, hey, snapshot right now after week 5, freeze the resumes. We're not projecting forward at all. Freeze the resumes. Who deserves to be in the playoff? Who has accomplished the most? Yes, BYU is my number 2 most deserving team behind Alabama, but Alabama is actually right now not number 1 in the SEC conference standings. That would be Texas A&M, who is 2-0. Bama is 1-0. So I give the nod there to A&M. So Bama's not eligible for a top 4 seed. Therefore, BYU, with the number 2 most impressive resume to date, based on my numbers, slides into that number 1 spot. You said UNLV, they're sitting there at number 3. Yes, they are number 3 in the seeding. They're number 13 and most deserving, but they are the number 3 conference champion as things stand right now. And that's how this playoff is going to be seeded. So that's what the Tuesday bracket's all about. Yes, it looks funky. You know, you've got Navy in there as the G5 representative. I'm trying to think, you got Iowa State in there as the number 9 seed, and they're number 6 and most deserving. So that bracket looks wonky. It's going to continue to look wonky until we get later into October, maybe even November, because it is just taking a snapshot of where we are today, right now. It is not using any predictive metric to look forward.
Kelley, I don't know how much social media watching you do, but in terms of interaction and feedback from fan bases, which fan base does Kelley Ford get the most pushback from?
Well, it depends on the day, depends what I put out in the most recent graphic. But guys, in all seriousness, most fan bases are pretty darn good. I have had some run-ins over the years with West Virginia fans. They certainly haven't liked what the numbers always say about their team. Kansas fans, surprisingly, didn't think I was giving Kansas enough flowers, a year or 2 ago when they were really coming on the scene with Lance Leipold. Of course, this year I put Kansas in the top 25 in the preseason power ratings, and they're off to a 1-4 start. So you can't win, right? There's no winning on social media. But I would like to say that there are some fan bases out there, most notably, Tennessee, Kansas State, Utah. Those fan bases have really embraced the power ratings and the content. They don't agree with everything, and I don't expect everyone to agree with everything, but they promote what they like. They largely ignore what they don't, or ask genuine questions about things they don't understand. So it's a process. I've gotten much better about, my social media etiquette, if you will, with regard to responding to things or not, and trying to answer genuine questions while ignoring the ones that are coming from a bad place. So yeah, West Virginia is probably the answer there. But to be honest, guys, I've muted a lot of the accounts that gave me some trouble. So I don't really see a lot of that anymore.
Kelley Ford, KFordRatings.com, at KFordRatings on Twitter. Kelley, currently sitting in your power poll, you got number 11, Clemson Tigers. They're taking on a bad Florida State team this weekend. In your mind, maybe your analytics can't tell me this, but maybe your opinion can. In your mind, what kind of an offensive performance does Clemson need to have against this Florida State team to stay at least where they are as 11th in your power poll? Does it need to be another 50-plus point offensive performance?
No, it's not going to need to be 50-plus points because the Florida State defense, for as bad as Florida State has been this year, my biggest underachievers. I mean, guys, if we would have talked about this game in the preseason, you're circling this one as, man, this is the inside track to Charlotte. And my goodness, maybe so for Clemson, Florida State has fallen off the wagon here. I don't think Clemson has to put up another 50-plus points to remain where they are. You do want to see a complete performance. This Florida State defense is number 48 in the country, so certainly not what we thought they were going to be, but that's not terrible. I mean, it's not horrific. The offense for Florida State has been pretty darn bad, number 88 in the country. So honestly, what's going to hurt Clemson worse here is not if they don't score a lot of points, if they give up a lot of points. This Clemson defense has been a little bit worse than the numbers expected. They're still good. Number 23 in the country. That's still really good. The offense, though, is number 11. I don't think I thought the offense was going to be better than the defense this year for Clemson, but that's what we've seen so far. I don't think Clemson has to score 50, but I certainly think Clemson needs to hold Florida State to a reasonable number. I mean, I don't think the model's going to like if Clemson gives up, even though it's on the road, more than 17 points, maybe 21 points. I mean, it's hard to hold your position when you're that high in the power ratings. And Clemson's number 11. That's pretty darn high. I don't think the model is going to look kindly if Clemson gives up more than 20 points, even though it's on the road to a Florida State offense that right now is hovering around number 90 in the country.
Kelley, I'll go on the flip side of that coin for our audience here in the Upstate Gamecock fans. Ole Miss has not had a win that's been close. Obviously, coming off of a loss to Kentucky last week, 20-17. I think that's fascinating when you look at this matchup with South Carolina. And then in your one possession and overtime ranking, South Carolina finds themselves with a win in one possession games or a loss in one possession games, obviously being the LSU game. And this one on Saturday at Williams-Brice certainly could be a one possession game.
Yeah, it certainly could be. It's projecting to be very close to that right now. It just misses the one possession cut. You're looking at just over 8 points in my projected spread for this one. But this is a really interesting game. You're right. And this could be the number one most watchable game in my watchability scores for this week. I do update those on Thursday night to post on the website Friday. But I think this might be the number one game of week 6 here. So I'm certainly looking forward to this one. Ole Miss is coming off a surprising loss. Kentucky is not a bad team. People who think Kentucky is a bad team need to get that out of their head. South Carolina put a hurting on Kentucky in week 2, and that's really the second half of that game is the only half of football this year that Kentucky has played poorly. Like, Kentucky's a top 25 power-rated team for me. So it's not the fact that Ole Miss lost the game. It's that the offense struggled the way they did at home. Yes, Kentucky's defense is good, but only 17 points at home for a team or an offense that I had as number 1 on that side of the ball. That was surprising to me. I still think Ole Miss is a really good team. I still make them the favorite here in this game. Going on the road to South Carolina is very difficult, and South Carolina has the added advantage here. They were off last week, and even the week before that, Gamecock fans know, they were home against Akron. So I would suspect that South Carolina has been game planning for Ole Miss now for probably going on 3 weeks at this point. So I really think that South Carolina has some scheduling dynamics in their favor. I think that the Ole Miss defense probably has a pretty significant advantage against that South Carolina offense. That's the worst unit in this game for me is the South Carolina offense. It's number 65. Every other unit's in the top 20. So can South Carolina's offense do enough, having been off last week and being at home for this game? Can they do enough? Are there some trick plays? Are there some big plays that they can make to put Ole Miss on their heels? If they can do that, and if they can do it early and get the crowd engaged, I do think South Carolina has a path to victory here, and it would be a huge win for the Gamecocks, a team that I have from the power rating standpoint at number 25 and from the most deserving resume standpoint, even though they're only 3-1, only played 4 games. South Carolina is still number 30 in my most deserving right now. You beat Ole Miss, who I have as a top 10 power-rated team. You're going to skyrocket up the most deserving rankings next week.
Kelley, I want to get into the head-to-head weeds with respect to Clemson and Miami. Miami, they came off that narrow, lucky, at the buzzer win against Virginia Tech last week. Clemson and Miami, don't play each other, but they do have a common opponent coming up here. Both of them will play Louisville in the next couple of weeks. At what point in your mind can Clemson overtake Miami in your power rankings? Does it have to come down to how they both perform against Louisville?
No, I don't think it has to be that long because these two teams aren't that far apart right now. I've got Miami number 7 in the country, but they have a power rating. More important than the ranking is the rating. Power rating of 20.6. So what that means, as a reminder, on a neutral field, my numbers would favor Miami by 20.6 points, about 3 touchdowns over the average FBS team on a neutral field. Clemson, they're number 11, so a few spots behind the Canes right now, but 17.4 is their power rating. So there's only a field goal difference right now in the model on a neutral field. If this weekend Clemson performs really, really well against Florida State and Miami struggles, even if they win, if they struggle on the road at Cal, it is possible that Clemson could be upgraded 1.5 points and Miami downgraded 1.5 points or some combination, and Clemson could overtake them as early as this week. So it's all about how these teams perform relative to the model's expectation. Yes, the Louisville game for each team is going to be huge because of what it means in the ACC standings. I mean, right now it's Clemson, Miami, Louisville, and SMU. Those are the teams that are going to, I believe, contend for the spots in Charlotte. And neither Clemson nor Miami play SMU. They both play Louisville. Louisville's a huge linchpin team here. But I'm really looking forward to those games. But no, we don't have to wait to see that for Clemson to potentially overtake Miami. But Miami has looked good to this point, especially on the offensive side of the ball, a top 5 unit. The defense is in the mid-30s, though, so that's something to keep an eye on for Canes fans as they move forward.
Kelley, great stuff as always. We appreciate you hopping on with us, and we will talk to you next week.
I look forward to it, guys. Thanks so much.
Kelley Ford of KFordRatings. I should come out of these interviews smarter, Diesel. However, I'm still going to make a bad pick.
I love it when the smartest guy in the room tells me that I made a wise pick.
Well, it makes you feel good about it. But what if you're both wrong? The smart guy's wrong.
Yeah, and see that it's all a matter of perspective. What he said earlier about the teams that are winning in one possession games, I look at that and I say that's a team that is gritty, that does the right things down the stretch when the game is tight.
Yeah.
He puts the other side of the coin on it and says, well, these teams shouldn't be in one possession games. And if you were really good, you wouldn't be in those games.
And I want to correct myself. South Carolina's 1-1 in one possession games. You can see that on Kelley Ford's website. The Old Dominion game, they won obviously, in LSU they lost, so they're 1-1 there.
See, that's why Kelley can't make picks in the upset picks challenge, because he's got this wealth of knowledge, and it would be an unfair advantage. He would just torch all of us. When we come back, Cole, we'll look at our daily wires, whip around the sports world, see what's happening. That's coming up next on the Fan Upstates. It's a heavy burden to carry this much knowledge around with you all show and not throw it out there. But Cole, we call this our Daily Wires. This is our whip around segment covering all things happening in sports. The Atlanta Braves season has officially come to an end.
Thank God.
They lost last night 5-4 to the Padres. They finished the season 89-73. So they didn't suck this year. They just had so much inconsistency in losing as many players as they did. It's understandable how they ended up with that record.
Thank God is all I can say. It's over.
God,
It's over.
You have such a love-hate relationship with the Atlanta Braves.
It's my every team. It's
Really?
the same way. Dallas is the same way. My professional teams, it's love-hate. That's exactly what it is.
There's only one Major League Baseball game on tonight, a wild card game 3 between the Mets and the Brewers. They'll face off at 7 o'clock. The AL Divisional Series will start on Saturday at 1 o'clock. Tigers versus the Guardians. That's a 5-game series. Also, in the ALDS Saturday evening, the Royals will face the Yankees. The first NLDS series is set. The Padres will face the Dodgers. And the Phillies are waiting on the winner of tonight's wild card game. That would again be between the Mets and the Brewers.
Yes, 7 o'clock tonight. Should be a good game, really.
Yeah, but nobody's going to be watching because this is America. We watch football on Thursday nights. Tonight in the NFL, the Bucs will face the Falcons. I assume because it's Thursday night football, it's going to be on Prime. Is that right?
Amazon, baby.
I have it, so I'll
Prime
be watching. How about that? The Bills are among the teams who have contacted the Raiders about wide receiver Davante Adams. Reports, though, from Monday Morning quarterbacks Albert Breer says that most teams out there are convinced that Davante Adams will be reuniting with Aaron Rodgers as a New York Jets.
It wouldn't surprise me at all. I really think that's one of the favorites because it just makes the most sense.
A second fan, Cole, has now sued, claiming ownership of Shohei Ohtani's 50th home run ball. His name is Joseph Davidov. He filed a claim stating, quote, that he was able to firmly and completely grab the ball in his left hand while it was on the ground, successfully obtaining possession of the 50-50 ball. He continued to say an unknown fan wrongfully jumped over the railing, jumped onto the plaintiff and the plaintiff's arm, and attacked the plaintiff, that would be Joseph, causing the 50-50 ball to come loose and roll into the hands of Chris Belansky. I mean, are we really at that point now where we have 3 different parties suing each other over who actually caught a home run ball?
I guess so.
God,
They're that
it's a scrum.
Yeah.
You win by survival of the fittest. What do you want? Like, do you want like possession to be whoever's sitting in the chair? Like if it lands in section 12, row 5, seat B, then that person, no matter what, they could be up getting a beer. If lands there in that time, they get the ball.
I say whoever walks
Ridiculous.
out of the stadium with the ball gets the ball. Simple as
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I mean, we had the story last week of the guy who said he had control of the ball, and then somebody that would be this Chris Belansky fella wrapped his legs around the kid's hand and like held the kid's hand still and was able to wrench the ball out of his hand. That kid is now suing and saying that, well, he had possession of the ball. So you got whatever happened to, and I know this is not a legal defense or anything, but possession is 9/10 of the law. Chris Belansky walked out with the ball. He possesses the ball. It is his ball. If you want to have a better chance, bring a glove. You're sitting down the left field line when Shohei Ohtani has 49 home runs. There's a decent chance the ball's coming to you.
Good chance.
So hold up a glove, catch the ball with 2 hands, and then wrap it up like you're tucking a football.
I'd put it in my pants.
There's people
Don't say
who would,
promo.
There's people who would reach down your pants to get a baseball.
I don't know about that. Would they?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Bally Sports have announced that they are dropping carriage of 11 baseball teams' games going into next season. They are dropping 11 of their 12 teams, but not the Atlanta Braves. The Athletic reported that Major League Baseball was, quote, blindsided by the announcement.
Blindsided.
I love it when it makes it harder to watch games.
Yeah.
Let me guess. They're still going to charge you the same amount.
Oh, of course.
But you'll only get Braves.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
And then finally, Cole, Jason Kelley is collaborating with Stevie Nicks on a Christmas album. Enough with the Kelseys.
Yeah, I'm done with that.
Everywhere. You can't get away from the Kelseys.
Also,
Stevie Nicks is a world-renowned singer, the singer of Fleetwood Mac. She doesn't need to lower herself to collaborating with Jason Kelley, a green tracksuit wearing ex-football player.
Also, we do know that 97.7 is down momentarily. I do know that our guys in engineering are working on it, as what I was just told on the text message just a few years ago. And did I say years?
Yeah, you did.
Just a few years ago or minutes ago, Cole? I believe minutes ago. Just a few seconds ago, actually. So 97.7 we know is down right now. Still trying to get everything right back up from the storm, everything level-headed. 97.1, Spartanburg's working perfectly right now, but 97.7 will be up momentarily. Let me say it that way, momentarily. All right, Diesel. We haven't done this in like 3 weeks now because last Thursday – we had a guest or something come up. The week before that, we were off. It's been like 3 weeks since we've done a welfare check to see who's home, the hottest coaches in the upstate, the hottest coaches in the country. We're going to check to see how hot their seat is. Our Thursday edition of Welfare Check next. College football and the NFL, well, it goes by fast. Just to put it quite frank, it goes by fast. And Diesel and I, all season long, we update you, we tell you, we give our opinions on the hot seat coaches. Who sits on the hottest of seats? Whose seat has cooled off from the very last time we did this segment? I believe 3 weeks ago now. Whose seat's gotten warmer? Whose has gotten cooler? We're doing a welfare check to see who's home, or have they been sent packing. I thought that we might have one that's been sent packing, but that one in Gainesville, he's still there as of now, Diesel. It's what we call the welfare check right here on Wire to Wire. Who's at home or who has been sent packing? College football, also in the NFL. Let's start with one that a few weeks ago, his seat was hot despite him just being hired not long ago. Let's start with the man in Charlotte, Dave Canales, the head coach of the Carolina Panthers. You know, it's weird to have the conversation of hot seat in his first season, Diesel. However, the owner, he's crazy, so you can't count it out. No. Dave Canales right now on a scale of 1 to 10, Diesel, how hot is his seat?
He never got above a 1.5, and he's now down to a 1. He was brought in to fix a disaster, right?
True.
And it was really an experiment to come in and fix this disaster. He fixed Geno Smith. He fixed Baker Mayfield. And the hope was that he could fix Bryce Young. He couldn't fix Bryce Young, or at least to this point, he hasn't fixed Bryce Young. But Cole, he now looks like a genius for making the decision to play Andy Dalton instead. They went from scoring an average of 6.5 points a game in games 1 and 2 to scoring an average of 30 points a game against the Raiders and the Bengals. They're 1 and 2 in those games. We all knew that the Bengals were not going to start 0 and 4. And the Carolina Panthers put up 3 touchdowns on the Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, I know it sucks to lose.
Yeah.
But I mean, we are in moral victory territory for the Carolina Panthers.
That was quick.
And putting up 24 points against the Bengals when you know your defense is suspect, right? You know your defense is bad. Shaq Thompson went down. I think you're feeling good, really good about that. And you're going up against the Bears next week that stink, the Falcons the week after that stink. So I'm thinking there's a good chance, not even a 50-50 chance, but a good chance the Andy Dalton era begins 3-1.
Wow.
Through October 13th.
So I'm with you there. I don't have any pushback, regardless of who made the decision to start Andy Dalton, whether it was Dave Tepper or Dave Canales. Ultimately, it falls on the shoulders of Dave Canales, right? He's the head coach. He's going to get the credibility. He's also going to get the negativity, right? In whichever way that scale leans. However, to your point, Andy Dalton's been good. Last week against the Bengals, did they win? No, but they didn't look bad against Cincinnati. The Carolina defense, in my opinion, last week was the issue. So I'm with you. 1 out of 10's fine there. No issues. The only caveat to this conversation is, at the end of the day, his owner is the worst owner in sports. So while we say 1 out of 10, Dave Canales' seat's not really hot, you have to factor in that Dave Tepper's his boss, and you never know. And that's sad, but true. So 1 out of 10 for both Diesel and I on Dave Canales. Diesel, let's skip down and go to the college ranks now.
Okay.
Right here in the state of South Carolina. Tell you what, talking about cooling off, in my opinion, the head ball coach of the Gamecocks, Shane Beamer, welfare check. Has his seat cooled down, in your opinion?
Yeah, he's heating up and the seat is cooling off. Shane Beamer is just fine right now. I think he was probably up around the 4.5, 5.
Yeah.
Maybe 5.5
before the Kentucky win.
And that just dumped a bag of ice into that seat. I mean, Shane Beamer is just fine right now. The fan base is now behind him. They understand, or they feel at least, like the LSU game, they got screwed by referees. I don't think that. I think you just got beat because you couldn't play defense down the stretch. But I mean, the fan base is feeling a lot better about Shane Beamer. Anything could change down the stretch, but I don't think I don't think the Gamecocks are going to lose a ton of football games down the stretch. I think they're going to look good at least in those games, and Shane Beamer is plenty safe.
So
he's
you're
at
going 2 out of 10?
He's in a 2.
2 out of 10 for Diesel. I will go. I don't have a ton of pushback there. Shane Beamer, you're right. When the Kentucky win happened for the Gamecocks, it was massive. It was massive. And getting that road win, they felt very much as if they were in the LSU game. I will go 1.5 out of 10. Not much disagreement with you. Just going to be a little bit different. I think his seat's a little cooler than 2. But I'm telling you, man, all of a sudden, and this is a big if, you want to talk about what this conversation would be next week. If Shane Beamer, to Kelley Ford's point, on 2 weeks to prepare for Ole Miss, if they could pull the upset, all of a sudden this conversation becomes really intriguing.
You're looking at contract extension.
Right.
At that point.
You're beating Kentucky on the road. You're expected to beat them. You hang close with LSU. And you beat Ole Miss. I mean, come on. This could be very, very interesting. So for Dave Canales, Diesel has 1 out of 10. I do as well. Shane Beamer, he has 2 out of 10. I have just 1.5 out of 10. Not much of a hot seat as of right now. You Tolos can play along as well. 71307. Start your text with keyword fan. Also, if you have a coach that we don't mention, feel free to throw him in on the text line as well. 71307. This one's interesting. Mike Norvell, if he gets embarrassed this weekend by the Clemson Tigers, it might be really, really, really hot. However, in your opinion right now, Diesel, Florida State, you said earlier, they're a bad team. Yeah. They are. But he had a fantastic season last year. Mm-hmm. He did all he could do and won every time he won except for the bowl game, right? Only won every time he could except for the bowl or the game against Georgia when they lost half the roster. Mike Norvell's seat, how hot is it right now?
Mike Norvell came into the season at a 1. I think he's very solidly up to a 4. I mean, nobody could have predicted, not even a lot of Florida State fans, they couldn't have predicted that DJU was going to be this bad. Like, there was some that didn't have faith in them. There was some that thought, okay, he was okay at Clemson. Yeah. He was better at Oregon State. He's learned a little bit. He's down here in Tallahassee. So he's going to progress a little bit, right? And be a solid quarterback at Florida State. And he has sucked at Florida State. And of course, Mike Norvell's going to catch the blame for that. He's the one who handpicked him out of the transfer portal instead of going with the true freshman. Yeah. So I think Mike Norvell is probably sitting at a solid 4. Ooh. What happens with this game this weekend, the outcome could push him up to a 5, but I'm going to say 4 right now.
A 4 out of 10 for Mike Norvell. It's so interesting because, like, when you talk about hot seat, Diesel, what you did last year does matter.
Sure.
But how does it impact where you are right now? I know that his contract and his buyout, that also matters, right? However, Diesel, when you talk about Mike Norvell, I am going 6 out of 10.
Wow.
I think his seat's smoking hot.
That means conversations are happening behind the scenes.
I think so, man. I think so. I really believe that Mike Norvell, for all he did last year, this has been a disaster. Not a Billy Napier disaster, not a Florida disaster, but it's in the same neighborhood. It's on the same course.
I think when you cross the 7.5 threshold, that's when conversations go from private between big-time donors, because they know each other, right? They sit on boards and committees together. It goes from private to public. You know, they're texting each other at 5, 6, 7. When it gets to 8, they start making announcements like the one they made regarding Billy Napier saying, hey, the money to get rid of him has been raised. And then they don't pull the trigger until it gets to a 10.
Yeah. Sometimes, we think it's a little bit lower, but it might be higher in their eyes. Again, this is the welfare check hot seat scale in terms of our eyes. We don't know what the actual pressure number is. I say 6 out of 10 on Mike Norvell. Diesel says 4 out of 10. If they, we both agree that Clemson wins Saturday. let's say they get smoked. I mean, just mollywopped. How much do you think yours would change?
Oh, I think it goes up. I think it goes up to a 5.5 at that point.
Okay.
I mean, fans know that they're having a bad season. They know that they're not good really anywhere on that team, offense, defense, special teams. If Clemson whoops your ass, it's kind of expected at this point, right? Like Clemson has looked really good these last couple of weeks.
Yeah, they have.
And they're rolling right now. So, I mean, I know it's going to hurt. I know there's going to be a lot of fans saying, oh my God, the sky is falling in Tallahassee. But you kind of expect a loss to happen.
Sure. I'm with you there. I think it would definitely get hotter. It's just fascinating in terms of how hot. We know 97.7 is down currently, so you in Greenville having to listen on the Odyssey app, we appreciate you doing so. They are working. Our engineer team is working on getting 97.7 back up and running. 97.1 Spartanburg is okay as of right now, as we're doing a welfare check on the hottest coaches, the hottest of hottest coaches who are just sitting on that seat that might be getting a little warmer. Let's stay in the same state, Diesel. Let's go to Billy Napier.
10. No, he was at a 9. I think beating the crap out of Mississippi State brings him down to about an 8.
Okay.
But the problem is they play a game UCF this week. 3-1 UCF, pretty good. UCF lost to Colorado last week.
They did.
But they beat TCU.
Yeah.
They beat Sam Houston State. UCF is a good football team. Not a great football team, but a good football team. If Florida loses to UCF, that's a Gator fan base that still looks at UCF like little brothers. If you lose to little brothers at home, by the way, back up to 10.
Back up.
Yeah.
Do you remember off the top of your head? I'm looking now. The spread on this game, it was 2.5, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's still 2.5.
2.5?
2.5. UCF 2.5 point favorites.
UCF favored by 2.5. I'm with you. I don't think Florida fans are okay. So remind me again. Did you say 9 out of 10?
Yeah. Well, no, I think I said an 8.
8 out of 10?
Yeah.
Billy Napier, we all know it's the inevitable, right? And the question is, what number does it have to get to for that decision to be made, whether that's during the season or after the season? You and I talked about this before the season started, and you said you expect them to be fired during the season. You play UCF, you have Tennessee. You're not beating Tennessee next Saturday in Neyland. You know that's going to be a loss. Diesel, here's where I think this could get interesting in terms of Billy Napier. They have UCF this week. They have Tennessee and then Kentucky. Diesel, if they drop a game to Kentucky at home in Ben Hill Griffin Stadium in Gainesville, the very next week they have a bye. Then they play Georgia. I could see if they lost to UCF, Tennessee, and Kentucky, drop 3 in a row, maybe they make a decision and can them during the bye week, October 26th, before they play Georgia, Texas, LSU, and Ole Miss back to back to back to back. But then again, what's the point in having an interim coach go get boat raced 4 weeks in a row by the Dogs, Longhorns, Tigers, and Rebels?
You get time to start gauging interested candidates. But then again, I mean, agents know that the job is probably going to come open at the end of the season. I'm not sure that changing things now really changes much.
I don't either. So I'm going 9 out of 10 for Billy Napier. I think it's as hot as it can be without a decision being made. I asked Chris Phillips about this one yesterday on the program, Diesel. Sam Pittman, Arkansas, they've shown signs of life this year.
Yeah.
I think this is a tough conversation for me to have.
Sam's sitting around a 5, and he's been operating at about a 6 recently. I know that they lost to Texas A&M last week, but it was a tight football game. You beat Auburn. You beat UAB. I still don't think anybody's happy in Arkansas. But, you got Tennessee at home. Then you got LSU at home. There's going to be – I think they're going to lose 3 straight games, and that number is going to rise. But right now he's sitting around a 5.
I'll go 6.5 out of 10 for Sam Pittman Yes, he has shown signs of life. I just don't think, you know how we talk about South Carolina being a team that can pull some upsets down the stretch, right, and improve their record. Sam Pittman's not going to do that.
No.
Arkansas is not pulling an upset against anybody.
Yeah,
that's
they've
the
lost one. They're about to lose 2 more in a row. They'll win on the road at Mississippi State, and then they'll lose 2 in a row to Ole Miss and Texas. I mean, this is a rough stretch. You got to make a change. You got to make a change. He's at a 5 now, but at the end of the season, I think it rises to an 8.
And lastly, we have to go to Boone. We have to go to your alma mater, Diesel, and talk about your guy that you really aren't fond of, Sean Clark of App State. Not a good season for the Mountaineers, obviously, right now. A ton going on with what Hurricane Helene did to that area. And I don't know if you allow the conversation to happen about do we kind of back off of this now with what happened with the hurricane in terms of hot seat talk, but give me your thoughts on Sean Clark.
I think Hurricane Helene probably saved Sean Clark's job.
Wow.
Because, Cole, App State now sitting at 2-2, got embarrassed by Clemson, got embarrassed at home against South Alabama. Losing to Clemson, you expect it, right? You expect to keep that game close, but you don't expect to get embarrassed the way they did. And then to follow that up with an embarrassing loss 2 weeks later at home on Thursday night national TV to a program that you feel is far beneath you, the fans are grumbling, man. The fans are grumbling. And I know that Sean is an alum, and I know that everybody loves him and loved him when they hired him, but I was never sold on a former player getting the job without actually doing a coaching search. Now, I've heard rumors that there's a serious push to take all App State home games for the remainder of the season and play them in Winston-Salem at Wake Forest Stadium. Now,
how far is that?
It's about an hour.
That's not bad.
No, well, maybe a little more. Maybe like an hour and a half.
Okay.
So apparently, I haven't looked this up to confirm it, but apparently all of App State's home dates align with all of Wake Forest's road dates. So it is allegedly feasible that it could be done. I don't know the condition of App State's campus. Now they're on the road this week at Marshall. I don't know if they can get things cleaned up within 2 weeks to be able to host the game, but the infrastructure up there is in such bad shape. Obviously bringing people up from the Asheville area, that's going to be a big problem. I have no idea what condition I-40 is in coming from Charlotte. What kind of condition was it 221 or 321 are in. So I've heard that they're doing that. And if they do, I think that saves Sean Clark's job because people will say, well, that's understandable, right? You're in a tough situation. It's just like the conversation I'm sure a lot of Burns fans are having with playing all their games on the road this year. So I'd say Sean Clark is sitting now at about a 4.
Oh,
4 to 5.
Now, just remind me, their record right now is what?
2-2.
Okay. Is that obviously one of those losses to Clemson?
And South Alabama.
Okay, that's right.
With wins to East Tennessee State and East Carolina.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I like the 4 out of 10. I just don't know, though. What's fascinating from my perspective is with Sean Clark, when you look at their schedule, Diesel, you said they're on the road this week.
Yep.
Obviously, the Liberty game got canceled. Marshall, Louisiana.
It's probably
Georgia
a good thing because
State.
I think Liberty was going to boat race
Well,
that state.
you might have been right there. Then they have Old Dominion, Coastal, James Madison, and Georgia Southern. Is this a situation from an App State guy where a 500 season or anything close to that, he's gone?
No, but I think it severely puts him on notice.
Okay.
I think he's safe through this year and he'll get next year. But
well, then let me ask you this. On the flip side of that, what would have to happen this year for it to be like, oh, he's got to go? When you look at the rest of the schedule.
I would say getting embarrassed a couple of more times. A close loss at Marshall, you're probably not going to, turn up that dial anymore. But if you get blown out by Marshall, who's not a good football team, if you lose to Georgia State, who's not a good football team, if you lose to Old Dominion, and that happened last year when App State was pretty good, it turns up the temperature.
Okay.
Getting blown out by Coastal Carolina, who's pretty good still, getting blown out by James Madison, and then, of course, Cole, you lose to Georgia Southern at the end of the year, That is the kicker. That could be the final straw that breaks the camel's back.
You don't want to lose that one.
No.
Right? That's a game.
You can't lose to Georgia Southern.
Right. You don't do it. We're going to run to a break, but before we do, let's hear from Garrett on the renewal by Anderson of the Carolinas fan phone. Garrett wants to give an update on the post-Helene and the impact it's caused in the upstate. What's up, Garrett?
How's it going, guys? Hope y'all doing well.
Good, man.
Hey, Garrett.
Good. Yeah, my job is we're having a donation site for drop-offs, and we're going to take them to the downtown airport probably one day next week. But we're open from 7:30 to 5 tomorrow, and 7:30 to 5 Monday. And we're located in Greer off of Highway 80. It's 1708 Poplar Drive Extension. It's right there by GSP Airport. So we'll be glad to see anybody that can donate tomorrow. We'll take anything. So.
And Garrett, for those who didn't catch that address, what's the name of your business so people, if they want to drop it in a GPS, they can find you?
Yeah, it's AAA. It's AAA Supply.
AAA Supply.
Corporation. Yeah, it's a plumbing supply house. So it's right off of Highway 80 in Greer.
Perfect. AAA Supply in Greer. Awesome. Thank you, Garrett.
Garrett, thank you for letting us know about
Appreciate you letting us know. Appreciate your company, your ownership, everybody over there for putting this thing together. That's
fantastic.
It's really fantastic and helpful. Cole, when we come back, I got something I'm mad about.
Oh, no.
I am mad about this because it pisses me off that we didn't think of this first, right? This was obvious. It's right there. And we didn't think of this. That's next on the Fan Upstate. We just had a drop in from our engineer, Chris, telling us all about what's going on with 97.7 FM in Greenville. Yep, we know that 97.7 FM is off the air. Don't worry, it is in progress to get fixed. So if you are listening in Spartanburg, you're good to go on 97.1. You can listen on the HD3 signal. You can also listen on the free Odyssey app and our sparkling, super powerful AM signals as well.
I forgot AM
1330 AM.
I forgot that existed. And what was the other one? HBCU? Is that what you said?
It's WFBC HD3.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
Close
I know.
enough.
Yeah, it's like
all these letters.
It's like a white girl Starbucks order.
It
So
really
too
is.
many descriptors in there.
Okay.
Cole, I'm mad about this. I'm mad that this glorious idea did not happen in the South.
Oh, boy.
I'm mad because Ohio State University and the Horseshoe.
Did you say the, by the way?
Yes,
Ohio.
has
Don't get mad.
unveiled a vending machine in its football stadium that serves bacon.
Bacon.
It
like
is a
bacon.
Not packs of bacon, but bacon.
Bacon.
Like by the slice.
No way.
Like, yeah. You've heard like there's restaurants that do pizza by the slice.
Yeah.
And that's great. I love pizza by the slice.
What does it come in, a bag?
This is bacon by the slice.
But I'm saying the slice just drops onto the bottom of the machine and it's all
don't
germs.
know. I don't know. So
No way.
The photos that I've seen of this thing are essentially side view only, right? Like there's people, it's a staged photo of people like standing there pointing at it like, oh my God, that's so cool, a bacon vending machine. And we don't have it here in the South. So the bacon vending machine, if you're an Ohio State fan, and we know we got Buckeye Mike, Buckeye Brian, those of you who have moved down here from Ohio, OH, Cole.
Oh, sorry. I'm reading an article about I'm reading an article about it.
Those of you who text that garbage to our text line, 71307, by the way, start your text with keyword fan every single day. You've probably been to an Ohio State football game. It is in the South Stands, section 39A, and it is part of a partnership with the Ohio Pork Council.
Ooh.
So they have this vending machine. Now, again, I don't know the exact specifications, but from what I could gather from the article that I found and the social media post that I saw, it is bacon by the slice. It's like laid out on a piece of cardboard essentially and wrapped in cellophane, and then it spits it out. So I don't know how good this can be.
Tell you what it looks like. It looks like microwave. You know how you can buy the microwave bacon in the store? Have you ever bought that?
Yeah.
It's not terrible.
No, it's good enough.
It's good enough. It says it's ready to eat. So
it's pre-cooked bacon.
It's pre-cooked.
Lots of preservatives.
I'm just curious though, like inside the vending machine, are we talking warm or cool? Because the bacon, when I take it out, is it going to be cold bacon or hot bacon? I don't want cold bacon.
Like, what if you press a button and then it lowers this thing down onto a little conveyor belt? Remember, like, you ever go to Quiznos restaurants?
Yeah.
Remember how they would put your sub on a little conveyor belt and it would toast it? Imagine pressing the button,
Quiznos,
and in like 30 seconds to 60 seconds, a warm slice of bacon rolls out of a conveyor belt.
No, better than that.
Imagine that.
Imagine being in the stands at an Ohio State game.
Oh, my God.
You're sitting there and everybody's, cheering and yelling, and you look over and the guy next to you pulls out a slice of bacon and just starts eating the slice of bacon. I mean, what in the world?
Look, I know that we've all been through something tragic and traumatic here in the last couple of days in the upstate and in Western North Carolina.
Sure.
But tell me that a piping hot slice of bacon wouldn't make your day just a tiny bit better.
But you know what the $1 million question is, though, don't you?
Is it any good?
No. Remember?
Is it maple flavored?
No, 5 o'clock fight back early days.
Oh.
Is it crispy or is it floppy bacon?
So I'm sure it's crispy.
Yeah, it's got to be.
I'm sure, because floppy is essentially uncooked bacon, and that's like unsafe, right? So, but imagine here for a moment if it's in a refrigerated system, and it can peel off a slice or whatever, a piece of pre-cooked bacon, and you press the button. Would you rather have it crispy or would you rather have it floppy? And you get to choose, and it rolls out of the conveyor belt. God, that sounds like such
great.
a good idea.
Be great.
You know, you could have maple flavored, applewood smoked, all those different options right there in a vending machine. That's a brilliant idea.
It is. I'm all for
God.
it. I don't know. It did. To your point, it does stink that the North, that those Northerners up in Ohio came up with this before we did in the South.
It stinks, but it smells so good.
That's true.
The thing.
That's
it
true.
Smells like bacon.
I'm
mad. Yeah. So the question is, Cole, if we were going to go to local stadiums here in the Southeast, if you could find something unique to put in a vending machine at Clemson's Death Valley, at Williams-Brice Stadium in Columbia, Eastern North Carolina for like ECU, what would you put in the vending machine?
Wait a minute. I've just thought of something. I've never seen a vending machine in a football stadium. Have you?
Yeah. So they're starting to put like the dollar bottled water vending machines in there because
really,
how many people, hundreds, stand in line to get water?
Everybody.
And it would be so much easier to go put in $1 and have it spit out of water.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and it's, I guess, taking a little bit of the stress and strain off of really, really busy concession stands.
Well, that makes sense. It's a great question. My mind's turning now, rather, in terms of in the South, what you would like. I think you'd have to go like Krispy Kreme donuts.
Oh, where's Krispy Kreme's headquarters? Is it Charlotte?
I don't know. I think
it's North Carolina. I know that.
Is it?
I think so.
I don't know. That's a good question.
Where?
Googling on the fly. I'd have no idea where it is, but I'll tell you, you especially in the wintertime.
Charlotte.
Is it really?
So we would have to give that to the Charlotte 49ers?
Or the Carolina Panthers. Come on.
No, I can't be down with that because I would actually want to go to a Charlotte 49ers game. Imagine being able to drop in $1 and get a piping hot, fresh glazed donut. That's all it sells is glazed donuts. But man, that would be so good.
I'm telling you, that'd be
I mean, if it was in Boone, it would pop out an ounce of weed, because that's what they like up there. But,
yeah. I'm telling you, donuts be hard to beat. I don't know.
East Carolina, how about like 3 ounces of chopped pork barbecue?
Oh, yeah.
With like a mustard sauce on it?
Barbecue sandwiches.
Yeah.
Remade. Bucky's vending machines. Oh, my God. How about that?
So do we know anybody at Bucky's?
What do you mean?
Like, do we know influential people at Bucky's that we could get on that?
I don't know, but we need to.
Is anybody from Bucky's listening to the show? Please, let's get on that. Pork sandwich vending machines. Tell me that would be great.
That'd be great.
Got to figure it out.
Sandwiches or a brisket sandwich.
Tolo Steve says, "Go Buckeyes." See,
Tolo.
you can't say the words Ohio State out loud. It's like in Anchorman when he blows the horn. Brr, brr, news team assemble. As soon as you say the word
downstairs,
Buckeyes,
there's a line of them in the parking lot. They formed the line downstairs.
There's a bacon vending machine in the parking lot.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean,
Is there something unique to Clemson and the upstate of South Carolina, a food item that's unique to here that we could put at Death Valley?
I think when people go to Clemson, a lot of people do eat at Smoking Pig. So barbecue is definitely kind of a staple in Clemson because on the way there, depending on what way you go, sometimes you don't pass a ton unless you're going to eat like fast food or something in downtown Clemson. But I don't know. I'm all for the vending machines, especially with unique choices. But I don't know that I can think of anything because here's the deal. I think you and I have talked about this. I'm not a big hot dog guy. I'm just not. I'm not a big hot dog guy. If it's the only thing in a barbecue or a party, I'll eat it. But I've just never woke up and craved a hot dog. It's never happened.
How about one that's making a Carolina slaw dog, like chili cheese and coleslaw?
Yeah, I'd just rather eat a piece of pizza or something, or a burger. I'm not a hot dog guy, man. Hot dogs are way overrated. They really are. I mean, it's time to claim that and put that out there. They're just overrated. It's a
hot
bunch
dogs?
Yeah.
Oh, come on, dude.
No, it's just a bunch of ground up meat.
Is a brat better in your mind?
Oh, way better. Way better. I'm a brat guy. Yeah.
Brats give me heartburn though, but I eat them all the time.
See, pizza gives me heartburn.
Yeah.
So what about App State? You said weed?
Yeah, it'd be a nug of weed.
God.
Yeah.
That's
a couple
positive.
grams. Yeah. Let's see here. Texter says, I don't know if Texter put his name on it. He did not. But it was Brian Andrews got your ECU Charlotte pick from earlier. He says Magnum size PB&J Uncrustables strawberry or grape.
You know what's
your choice.
Not a bad idea.
Is this what they'd sell at App State for all the stoner kids?
Just the ones that are a little hungry. I don't know. I'm not a hater of Uncrustables, but look, I think sometimes you need 2 or 3 of them just to get you over.
It's true.
But I don't think anything will beat the Krispy Kreme donuts.
That's true. Hey, we got Clay Hendrix coming up at 6 o'clock. Just a heads up for you Furman Paladin fans. He's going to be joining us at 6. So very interesting conversation we're going to have with him.
It absolutely will be. Well, the question we have to go here, where do we go from here? What do you do now? The Atlanta Braves season, it's come to an end. So the Atlanta Braves have some difficult decisions to make in the offseason. Max Fried, what happens with him? Do you add some guys to that bullpen, to the pen that wasn't the best this year? Where do the Braves go now? Braves fans, you chime in next. Going back to the last conversation, Jeremy said, how about a chicken wing vending machine?
Love
Be
that.
good. Let's see. CJ from Greer, big old fat barbecue rib machine. That wouldn't be bad at all. Not a bad option there, CJ.
Nice.
Speaking of CJ from Greer, he chimes in on the Atlanta Braves question, conversation, remarks, depressive thoughts, everything that goes along with the Atlanta Braves. The season's over. It ended last night. I said it was over a few days ago because it felt like it's been over for a long time, Diesel. But the Atlanta Braves, they did have to go play 2 wild card games. They didn't really show up in either one of them. 5-4 loss last night to San Diego, a really good team who will now have to go play the Dodgers.
How can you say they didn't show up against the Padres? 5-4 on the road.
No, they didn't show up. Pitiful. It sucked. I'm telling you, they didn't show up. They were just there. They were not existent.
Look, it's not the outcome that the Braves fans want, obviously.
No.
But I think Brian Snitker actually deserves a lot of credit for winning. What did he win? 89 games this year with a roster that was completely decimated by injuries.
No, I don't. I'm just, you know how I feel about Brian Snitker. you know how I feel.
I'm just trying to talk you down off the ledge and let you know
true.
why they're not going to move on.
CJ from Greer. Oh, no, they're not. I agree with you there. CJ from Greer says Fried and Morton are gone. Braves will be shopping for a right fielder and shortstop as well. CJ, I absolutely agree with you. You know, listen, Morton should be gone. Morton's are they going to re-sign him to a $48 million 1-year deal, right? And overpay for him again. I'm not worried about Charlie Morton. He's old. They overpaid him the last time they paid him. Max Fried, though, I will say this. Last night in the first inning, the Braves went up 1-0 in the top of the first, bottom of the first inning. Max Fried was in a pickle. And I mean a serious pinch where the bases were loaded with no outs, and it looked as if the Padres were going to bust that thing open in the bottom of the first inning. However, I did see Max Fried. I did see vintage Max Fried last night in the bottom of that first inning, get out of that and not allow any runs. Obviously, he did allow some before he was pulled. However, I still think Max Fried's worth whatever he'll get. I know that the Atlanta Braves may not be able to afford the guy or just may not want to pay top dollar. I think he's going to go back home to San Diego where he was drafted. They showed that picture last night of him being drafted wearing that San Diego Padres ball cap. I don't know if LA can get him. It's interesting. Obviously, all big-name free agents go to LA, but I think San Diego is a better landing spot for him. I'd love to have him back, but he's going to cost you. I would, if I'm AA, I would re-sign him. I think he's too valuable not to. So, Diesel, it's tough. The Braves season, they have a long offseason ahead. As you said, no, Brian Snitker's coming back. I don't like him, but that doesn't mean anything. Everybody there in Atlanta, they still are a Brian Snitker fan. However, when you get knocked out of the wild card and 2 games as quick as they did, there are going to be a lot of questions in terms of what the Braves do this offseason. This is going to be a big offseason because they still have a lot of talent, and next year's team's going to be expected to go make a run.
Yeah, they're going to have to build in some serious depth on that roster in some places where they know they're thin, they know that they're injury prone. I just question, Cole, can the strategy of drafting guys and paying them, long-term contracts with not a lot of money per season, can that sustain the Atlanta Braves forever? At some point, you have to start investing in stars, right? You have to start being a buyer in the market, and the Atlanta Braves haven't been for a long time. I think Alex Anthopoulos has made as much hay as he could possibly make with the roster that he's got, with the system that he's got. I know they trust their system a lot, but eventually, Cole, you have to be willing to go out and spend the money. And are they going to be that team that always kind of sits there in the position that they've been in the last 2 years?
Well, I think it's interesting when you talk about spending the money with Max Fried because a lot of Braves fans would probably argue and say, look, you know what, we've got to spend it elsewhere. But there are a lot of Braves fans out there that just don't want to see Max Fried go. And I get that. I'm one of those Braves fans. I don't want to see him walk. I just don't. I think he's too good of a pitcher. He's been tremendous. You don't win a championship in 2021 without him. He was an integral part of that squad. So I don't want to see him go. I really don't. But to your point, you got to spend the money somewhere. And to CJ and Greer's point, shortstop, you might be looking. Right fielder, you might be looking. You're gonna get guys back like Acuna and Austin Riley, who you lost, who were injured a majority of the season. However, you still somewhere have to go do something to improve this team and get them back to a championship quality team.
Cole, when we come back, we go up to Travelers Rest and talk to Clay Hendrix, head football coach of the Furman Paladins. Their game last weekend was postponed, obviously, because of the effects of Hurricane Helene. We'll see if we can get some info on them, out of them about the rescheduling of that football game, everything that they're dealing with on campus. And, of course, we'll take a look ahead to their matchup this weekend when they'll travel down to Charleston and face Citadel. That's coming up next on the Fan Upstate. Got about an hour left today to get in your upset picks for the Upset Picks Challenge, 71307. Give us your name, your game, and your spread. We go now and talk football with Clay Hendrix, head football coach of the Furman Paladins. Coach, we know classes have been canceled this week. How much have you been able to practice, and can you tell us a little bit about the condition of campus there in Travelers Rest after Hurricane Helene?
Well, it's great being with you. You know what? We've been able to get, most of our work in. Obviously, the weekend started kind of strange with, really up until Saturday afternoon, we were still trying to get the game played on Sunday and could just never get it done. And so then we transitioned, we sent kids home, told them to come back Monday. We started prep as coaches and didn't have power, didn't have internet. We'd spent a couple of days downtown at a place where we could do some prep work. And then, got our players back. We got most of our week in it. The week was a little bit different, just the way we changed it, but we obviously didn't work around classes. So in some ways it gave us a little bit more time. But it's been a productive week, and, we're far better off than a lot of other people. So, we're grateful about that. Campus took, it's funny, much about our campus, the north side, the golf course side, all the way down behind where the back gate is, got hit really hard. Tons and tons of trees. We did lose power. We got power back late Monday, which was maybe, I don't know. I think I had about 3 different things I was told, and it kept changing. And then we got it back later Monday, which allowed us to kind of operate for the most part from our football program throughout this week.
Coach, I know a lot of people around here are going to want to know, are the Swans okay?
I hadn't seen the Swans. I haven't been over there this week, but I'm sure the Swans are probably okay. It's funny, the side of campus we're on over by the stadium, some trees down. It's really, which we have a big campus, but it's funny that, like I said, the north side seemed to have gotten it much worse than other part of it. But lots and lots of trees, and so really that, and just the loss of power.
We're talking to Clay Hendrix, the head football coach of the Furman Paladins. Coach, you've been coaching a long time. Obviously you go through times that are difficult. COVID was obviously an interesting time here in the country, but in terms of a regional impact, I mean, you have teams in your conference that were really impacted by this storm. I'm sure that this has to be, even though you've been coaching for a long time, what this storm did had to be a kind of a first for you, right?
Well, yeah, it's interesting. I have been doing this a long time. I remember 89. That was, when Hugo came, that was my second year coaching. And obviously Greenville wasn't impacted. Nothing like, obviously Charleston, even Columbia and Charlotte. But I think it was that type of storm that came up through us. But I remember that's when we played Sizzle the last game of the year. And I can remember the bus ride once you got past Columbia. Just kind of taken back at the destruction. This was 3 months later. I know what knocked down a wall at the stadium. They played some games. I know they played in Columbia some games. I remember that. What's really kind of weird about all this, I've been the head coach this now about 7.5 years. We've lost 3 games. We've had 3 home games that we've lost.
Wow.
To something, and 2018, Colt, we had thoughts of something coming here and a storm, and Colgate basically said, we're not coming. We lost that game, and it'd be a nice Saturday day. And then Wofford opted out in a COVID game in the spring of 2020. And then last week, and, Sanford just couldn't they didn't have a place to stay, coming from 5 hours away, but we lost 3, and they've all been home games. So I've seen a little bit of everything. 2024 has been a challenging year for the old Furman football Paladins, going all the way back to, some of the things we dealt with in the spring. But our guys, they've been pretty resilient. We're getting better, and obviously you want to play. And we lost an opportunity last week, and in our sport, it's just hard to make those dates up. We're not going to play 2 games in a week. So I'm not sure there's a time we can make that game up.
Yeah, Coach, I was about to ask that question. If there's been any options that have been tossed around, I know that it's still kind of up in the air. It's listed as postponed, not listed as canceled. So if you can give us any idea of maybe some of the options that you've heard, if you're allowed to talk about that.
Well, there really aren't any options. We can agree to play the last week of, the week of Thanksgiving, which is the first week of the playoffs, and our plan is to be playing a game that week against somebody else. But there's just really not. They had actually had their bye the week before us. We've got a bye at the end of this month. I think the last weekend in October is our bye, our normal bye. So I don't know how we could make that game up. Could we go try to find another game that week? I don't know. I don't know if that this is a 12-game year for us, if that's the smartest thing to do with, we've got all conference games from here on out. So I don't know. It's just looking more and more like, 11-game regular season, which, if we take care of our business, that'll be enough, and then we'll get a chance to keep playing, basically the week and beyond.
Talking to Clay Hendrix, the Furman Paladins head football coach. You mentioned it just a few moments ago, Coach, about 2024, going all the way back to the spring, a tragic loss and a tough year for you guys. Now facing this and the Ole Miss game, actually on the field, a very tough game. We all knew what that was going to entail. But have you noticed the spirit or the demeanor of your guys changing at all, like a roller coaster, or has this group that you have this season, have they been pretty level-headed, having to handle a lot?
They really have. About half of our travel squad, and I don't know, I hadn't looked at it exactly this week, but I don't know if we carry about 66 guys. About half of them are true freshmen or redshirt freshmen. So I think some of those guys don't know any better. We're a young group. We've had good leadership. I really haven't sensed that at all. Certainly the season didn't start like we wanted it to, and that was kind of a weird game. And the fact that I never had many games, particularly first games that you came out of, and you really felt like you know more about your team than you did, before the game. And then, but I think the last three, the next three games we've played, I feel like we're getting better. You can see some good. You see some things you certainly have to fix. And, I knew we had 4 non-conference games leading up to our conference opener, which would have been last week. So, we're undefeated in the conference and going to play our longest, oldest rival. I think our guys are excited to go play. This will be my 31st Citadel game. So
wow.
I've been a lot of these things.
We're talking to Clay Hendrix, head football coach for the Furman Paladins here on the Fan Upstate. Coach, one thing I always have taken away this past season or leading up to this point in the season for the Carolina Panthers and head coach Dave Canales is being stubborn about running the football. And then so far through 4 games, it seems like the passing game is really taking off for your team. Joshua Harris has had a heck of a season, 257 yards for him. Ben Ferguson has had a really solid year this year. Is that really kind of turning into the personality of this team being a pass-first team? And how do you feel about being stubborn about running the football, especially getting Mayan Hicks a little more involved?
Well, I'm an old offensive line coach, so you probably got a good idea what I'd like to be really good at. We certainly take pride. We have not run the ball as well as I'd like for us to run it. And I don't know. I've tried to, as a head coach particularly, I just use the word balance, and balance doesn't mean 50-50. But I tell you, one of the things that does excite me is the ability, you think about this, and in 4 games, we've had more explosive plays than we had all of last year. That's a pretty good football team. Now, they won games different ways. And a lot of those have been in the passing game, this year. So I think we've got as talented a receiving group as we've ever had in all my time here. I think our quarterback, the young Trey Hedden is really talented. I think he's getting better every week. I think he works at it. He's been a good teammate, and although I think he's only going to get better. And I think one of the things we saw last year, we lost 3 running backs to injury throughout the year, and we got into a situation later in the year where we felt like we were playing a phone booth every week, and I think a little bit's taking again what people give you. So if we're going to continue to get opportunities to get the ball down the field, I think that'll help our running game. And yeah, I would like to get a couple more of those guys. We've been playing as many as 4 backs, and I don't know, maybe we need to get 2 guys and get them more carries. I don't know. It's a little bit of a work in progress. And, I think if you take the Ole Miss game out of there and you look at numbers, numbers can skew lots of ways. Just like maybe when you play a couple of really bad teams, you might feel a little too good about yourself. And I think if you took that game out of it and you look at the numbers, they aren't that bad. I think the biggest thing stands out is we turned the ball over, in a couple of games that we would love to have back. And so I think I like the trajectory we're on. I'd like to see it speed up a little bit, but I think we're in a good spot, going forward.
Coach, you talk about the run game, but on the flip side, in stopping the run, 384 yards given up. I'm sure that was a point of emphasis for you and your staff against William and Mary. What do you have to do? What have you been doing to get better at stopping the run?
Well, we've been we've been a really good rush defense. And now they're one of the better rushing teams in the country. But obviously, you like to say you want to give your opponent credit, but I think well over 200 yards of those yards came after contact. We got to tackle better. I knew we'd have some challenges a little bit with them in that regard. Ultra dynamic quarterback, as a dual threat guy. And, 2 biggest plays he made were both scrambles. So I try not to overreact too much to one game, but obviously there's some things we got to do better. And we'll plan on doing that. And we've worked hard at it. Again, we've been really good run defense around here for a long time. And we didn't just become an awful run defense. We had a really bad day. And still, I think the thing that kind of excites me is we had a really bad day in that regard. We turned it over 3 times, and we had every opportunity to win the game all through the fourth quarter. So we just got to keep putting ourselves in those positions and get better at some things we know we can get better at.
Coach, you talked about taking the Ole Miss stats out of the overall season stats, and it really kind of skews things back a little bit more in your favor. But looking at third down efficiency, I want to just get your sense as far as analytics versus gut feeling. Which way do you kind of lean? Are you leaning into using analytics a little bit more, or are you still just straight up, I'm going to go with how I feel?
I'm a little more going with how I feel. I think one of the things for us, we've had too many third and longs, and it can be attributed to a couple of things. I don't know. I think it's much more about the flow of the game. Yeah, you pay attention. Maybe some people, there's maybe weeks you think you got to score more points than others based on who you're playing. I think it's kind of like reminding your quarterback. I know Trey, our young quarterback, who turned it over a couple of times there, and I said, we've talked around here for a long time. It's okay to punt, instead of giving them a short field or because of a turnover, and just sometimes take the bad play, the negative play, and punt it and play defense, and that's been a pretty good formula for us. But I don't know. I think for the most part, you feel like the strengths of your team. Maybe the strengths of the other team you're playing. And I still base most of the decisions I make still on that.
Coach, when you look at the Citadel, what stands out to you?
Well, I think the quarterback, they've got a grad transfer quarterback. You'd think, I sit here and I look at the roster, and they have a lot more. Think about it. The military school has a lot more transfers than we do. We don't have very many at all, but most of those kids are grad kids. But they take a quarterback who's a Somerville kid down there, and I think he automatically made it better just because his ability to give them some balance. They're not obviously not running triple option. There's a little bit of an option element to what they do, but I think he's just giving them a chance to be balanced and makes them certainly tougher to defend, where you can't just pin your ears back and play the run. I think they're like year 2 of Coach Drayton's program, and you can see they're just better. They're better defensively. They're creating some turnovers. They're really been solid in the kicking game, and even games they hadn't won, they've been right there in those games. So they're same old team. They're gonna play really hard and be well coached and be disciplined, and That's really never changed in all the years I've played against them, and I expect that same kind of team that we'll play on Saturday.
Coach, I'm going to ask you kind of an oddball question here, okay? So I just wanted to prepare you to let you know that something strange is coming at you. In our last segment, last hour, we talked about bacon vending machines that are now installed at Ohio State's football stadium. I just wonder if there's anything that Coach likes that he would love to see installed or for sale inside a vending machine, inside Paladin Stadium, what would it be?
That sounds pretty good to me. I'm
Right?
a big bacon fan, So, man, I don't know if you'd have asked me that without telling me that. I would have said that. But now that I heard it, that sounds like a pretty good idea to me.
Better than Krispy Kreme donuts?
Yeah, I think so. I don't feel as bad about myself.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm totally wrong. I don't feel as bad about myself when I eat the bacon as I do about the Krispy Kreme donut. So maybe I'll feel better about myself.
Coach, we appreciate your time as always. Best of luck Saturday in Charleston, and we'll talk to you next week.
Hey, it's great being with you. Thank you, guys.
That's Coach Clay Hendrix. If you go on Pelham Road, you can go to a donut shop right across the bridge and get bacon on donuts.
Yum. Yeah, why can't we just combine both of those?
You still
things?
hadn't had those, have you?
I've had bacon on a donut before.
From the Quack Quacks?
Not that
donuts?
one.
No.
That one, no. But I've had bacon. It's like maple bacon on a donut? Dude.
Well, let me tell you. I might have to swing by Pelham Road tomorrow. A little Friday donut. Because I'm telling you, man, they're this game changing. Now, you do not feel good about yourself when you do it. There's nothing good.
It's called umami. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Umami.
Who's mommy?
Yeah, your mommy. Umami is it's the flavor. That's actually a scientific. I didn't make this up. Okay,
It sounds like you did.
Yeah, it's not. It's like oh, mama.
Can you spell it?
UMAMI. I think is how you spell it. It's an actual your taste bud can pick. Your taste buds can pick up sweet, salty, savory, all those kinds of things. Umami is the flavor profile, whatever that your tongue can pick up, that bacon is so super high in.
Somebody just was eating something one time and said, umami, and they named it that. I mean, that's what it was, really. But those bacon maple donuts, let me tell you.
Umami is a basic taste that is often described as savory, meaty, or brothy. It is known as monosodium glutamate, and foods that have a high level of the amino acid glutamate, like mushrooms, miso, seaweed, Parmesan cheese, and bacon, have a high amount of umami.
Well, I learned something new today. I'm glad I can go home and feel good about myself because I learned something new, put it on the refrigerator at home.
It's umami, but in South Carolina, it's called Oh Mama.
It's called Oh My Goodness. That was good. We're going to play a new game, Diesel, when we come back on the other side. Money is involved. Not real money, fake money, okay? So you and I might have to keep track, and if we're any good at this, we can keep track week by week. But we're going to lay a little parlay down, you and I both, on the college football weekend that lies ahead with some fake money, and see next week who's leading between you and I. A little parlay challenge next. right, Diesel, a new game that we're going to play that involves a little moolah, a little cash. But don't worry, it's fake cash because I don't ever have cash. I'm the world's worst. Whenever you need cash, I don't have it.
You don't like fold up a 20 and put it in your sock?
No, I just don't. I need to. I said after the storm,
should.
I need to start putting cash away. I don't. But it's, maybe I'll start. Maybe I'll start being
shaving cream can under your bathroom sink, right?
Yeah. That way nobody will ever look there. But a little parlay challenge. Let's see how we do after this weekend. So here's how this is going to work. I have a sports book pulled up. It's not mine. It's not real. It's not the one I use, any of those. It's just fake, okay? So keep that in your head. Remember, this is a fake sports book. This is all fake. Nothing legal about this, right? Okay, now that we got that out of the way, Diesel, of the games this week, you and I both are going to put together a 3-team parlay. So you and I both are going to look through the college football weekend. The scoreboard, it doesn't have to be top 25. It can be in the entire slate. And as long as the game's in the book that I'm looking at, the sports book, we're going to pick 3 teams, form a 3-team parlay. We're both going to hit submit, right, in air quotes. We're going to pretend like we put the bet in, right? Before we do that, though, but depending on the 3 games you choose, I'm going to tell you what it would pay out. So if you pick games that have smaller spreads, let's say a 2-pointer, a 3-pointer, and a 4-pointer, those games won't pay out as much as a 22-point underdog, right? If you pick a 22-point underdog to win the game, obviously that parlay is going to skyrocket.
Are we picking to win the game or picking against the spread?
Against the spread.
Against the spread.
Let's give example. So let's take the first 3 games of the weekend. Texas State, Troy tonight. Texas State is a 14-point favorite. If you believe Texas State covers the 14, we're going to take that one as an example. So the 14 points, we're taking Texas State to cover. That means they win by more than 14 points. Sam Houston State versus UTEP tonight, Diesel. That's a 10-point spread in favor of Sam Houston State. If you tell me, you know what, I think UTEP's going to cover as the home dog, they're going to keep it within 10.5. Maybe you think it's going to be a 7-point game. You'll take UTEP as the 10-point underdog, the home dog to cover. So we need one more. The next game, which is tomorrow, Jacksonville State, Kennesaw State. Jacksonville State, the road team's favored by 16.5 points. If you tell me once again, you don't really think they're going to cover 16.5. You think Kennesaw State, the home team, is going to keep it within 16.5. We'll take Kennesaw State. So our 3-team parlay will be Texas State, this is an example, minus 14, UTEP plus 10.5, Kennesaw State plus 16. We then hit continue. The amount of fake money that we're putting on this is $50 per parlay, okay? So the fake money that we're going to use, we can keep track of it. If you or I hit on this challenge and we start to build up some cash, we can track it and continue throughout the season and continue to see who has more cash than the other. But it's a $50 parlay. The example that I gave, $50 Diesel would pay out $286.52. A nice payday, right? You only risk $50 to win $286. That was an example of Texas State, UTEP, and Kennesaw State. So you pick 3 games that you feel good about, and I will make sure I have them in my fake sports book that I found just folded up over here that I've never seen before in my life. And then we'll put $50 on it. We'll keep up with it and see how we did on the other side. Again, we're fake hitting submit. We're not really hitting submit, but we'll see how we did on Monday. So we now have to look through the games and find a 3-leg parlay. I sometimes do 4 or 5.
Which makes a tripod.
Right, that's a tripod. But the problem with doing more than 3, Diesel, is, as you know, the more teams you add, the chances of hitting the parlay go down, right?
Sure.
It's hard to pick. Hell, I can't pick one game for the Upset Picks Challenge, right? So it's hard to pick 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. But we'll try our best to do a 3-leg parlay. So let's first find one that we like each, and we'll continue to add.
Okay.
If you want to go first and give me one that you like, I will find it, and we will add it up and see what the payout is once we find 3 per person.
Okay. I like Syracuse covering.
Okay. Plus 6.5.
Plus 6.5.
Got
Is there any difference between just covering or winning and covering? Just betting for the cover.
No, just betting the cover. Yep.
I think Syracuse covers 6.5.
Well, there is a difference. I'm sorry. So if you think they're going to win, great question, by the way. If you think they're going to cover the 6.5, the money is minus 110, which means it's a pretty even line.
Yep.
If you think they're going to win outright, it turns from even to plus money, which is plus 199 odds, which would be a bigger payout. So if you think they're going to win,
I think they're going to win and cover.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
So then I'm going to take if you think they're going to win, I'm going to put the plus 199, which is the outright money line win for the Qs. Okay, that'll increase your payout a lot. That'll increase the payout a lot.
That one. I
All
like
right.
that one. Here's an odd one, Cole.
Okay.
You mentioned it, the Jacksonville State, Kennesaw State game. There's one win combined between these two teams. One win. Jacksonville State is like 1-4. Kennesaw State 1-3. Kennesaw State is 0-4.
Just say what time that game is.
That game is at 7:00 on Friday. I'm not really looking at that game. I just thought that was a really odd one. The fact that Jacksonville State are 16-point road favorites.
That's a lot of points, man.
Against Kennesaw. And I forget. Most people forget. Most people never knew that Kennesaw State is an FBS team.
They did move
They're in
up.
Conference USA.
You know, I went there when they were still FCS.
Yeah, the Owls.
Yep, Owls. Who?
Okay.
So we got one for you. Need two more.
I'm gonna go with this is quick. I know this is not great radio.
It's okay.
I'm
Putting you
gonna
on the
go
spot.
with I'm gonna go with
No,
not this UAB Tulane game.
Not going App State.
App State Marshall.
Not going App
Marshall's a
State?
3-point favorite. No, I'm not going that one. Not going that one.
You don't
at
want to
all.
bet on your own team. You
No.
said that the other day.
You don't gamble on your own team. You don't.
But you could gamble against them. I do it.
Exactly. Let's see. God, man, this is tough. You put me on the spot.
I did put you on the spot.
Hard. Okay. I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with Auburn to cover. No, I'm gonna go with Georgia to cover against Auburn.
And that game, let me find it. What time?
I lost
3:30. I got it.
3:30. Georgia's 22-point favorites.
Okay, so you're taking Georgia to cover?
Got Georgia to cover.
Okay, so they win by more than 22.
Yep.
Okay, I've got that one, and I've also got your Syracuse to win outright, which is plus 199. Your Georgia to cover is almost even money line, minus 110, which is good though. It's fine.
Okay, and I'm gonna say Coastal covers against Old Dominion.
Coastal, let me find that one in all my games.
That one is a 7:00 game on Saturday.
7:00. Coastal, I found it. You're going to say Coastal wins by more than 5.
Correct.
So you're going Coastal minus 5. Okay. Let's see. Let's put it in the computer here and see what it spits out. Diesel liking his chances here. You know what? Those are interesting games. Of course, my computer goes back a screen. Again, let me redo it here. Oh, come on, computer. All right, let me go back to Georgia. Okay, you like Georgia. You like Coastal Carolina. That one's at 7:00, minus 5. What was the first one?
The first one was.
How did I forget? It was Syracuse who went out.
Syracuse went out right.
And that one is a Saturday game, right? Saturday. Where is Syracuse on here? Is that game played another day?
That's a Friday game.
Friday.
Friday
That's
night,
why. Oh,
Friday at 9.
All right, I've got you now. Let's see if the computer will actually take it this time. It does. We're going to go $50 on Diesel's parlay. So I'm going to copy this and paste it onto our rundown. That way we can keep track. And Diesel's parlay, as you see there, Diesel, you risk 50 to win $300.
Okay.
So if you win, you're up 300 on me.
Seems like all of it is on that Syracuse UNLV.
Well, that one helps. That one helps
Yeah.
because it's because it's plus money, right?
So what's the money line situation on that Coastal Carolina to cover?
Hey, hold. You pointed something out. I clicked that wrong. I clicked Syracuse spread, not money line. So now that will change it. Thank you for correcting me.
Well, I wasn't asking specifically.
But you said Syracuse will win the game, right?
I said they outright win.
Okay, so let me fix that. That was my mistake. $50. Let me change that. And now you're betting 50 to win. 488.
Okay, I
Diesel,
like it.
That's good.
I like it.
That's a good parlay because you're basically only risking $50. And if you win the 3-leg parlay,
Tenfold.
488.
I could go up tenfold.
That's tenfold. That's a lot. That's a lot more than 50. So you'd be sitting pretty.
I like money.
No, it'd be great. I like that. Okay, so I'm going to keep track of that. That's a good parlay. I don't hate that one. Again, Diesel had Syracuse to win, Georgia to cover, Coastal -5, $50 of fake money would pay out $488. So we'll see if Diesel can win the $488 and see who wins the challenge next week. Or
how much would by itself, picking Coastal to cover? How much is that worth?
Coastal to cover. That's a good question. You said they play at 3 o'clock or 7 o'clock?
7 o'clock on Saturday.
7 o'clock on Saturday. Coastal Kakalaki to cover the 5.5, a straight bet. If you put 50, I believe it's even money, so it should be 50 to win 50. It is 55 to win 50. So you risk 55 to win 50. That would be for Coastal Carolina to cover the 5.5. Now, I don't understand why App State is the underdog. Can you explain that to me?
They got blown out by South Alabama and Clemson.
Yeah, but Marshall's no good, are they?
I don't know much about Marshall.
Marshall? I'll tell you what.
Marshall's 2-2, so these are probably two fairly evenly matched teams. Let me see if I can dig into some of the analytics on this. Marshall, their last 5 games, they beat Western Michigan, got stomped by Ohio State, got beat handily, 2-touchdown loss on the road at Virginia Tech, and then something called, I don't even know what school this is. STBK, Stony Brook. They
I've heard of Stony Brook.
Beat the crap out of Stony Brook 45-3. So their schedule's been kind of all over the place.
Stony Brook.
And it's a road game. It's at Marshall. So I understand why.
Yeah. Marshall's
a 3-point favorite. App State is, I can't understand what's going on with this team this year. They got a lot of talent on the roster. And like you look across the board, I think it's just that they're very, very weak running the football, and the secondary gets blitzkrieged every game.
Well, here's my 3-teamer. So Diesel's is Syracuse to win the game against Georgia Tech, Georgia -22, and Coastal -5. $50 would pay out $488, which is a nice payday. My 3-teamer Diesel is Alabama -23 against Vandy. To cover. Okay. So that means they would buy more than 23 points. I have Duke +9.5, which means they keep it within 9. I like that one a lot, by the way. That was your upset picks challenge. And then my last, App State +3. I don't think App State, if they lose to a field goal, by a field goal, I still win.
Compare these two quarterback numbers, okay? Don't know his first name. Stone Earl, quarterback for Marshall.
That's the guy in the movie The Mule? Was that his name?
No, I have no idea. Marshall's quarterback, Stone Earl, through 4 games, has 537 yards of offense, passing yards, 7 touchdowns and a pick. So 537 through 4 games. That's not bad. That means you're topping 100 in every game you played in. Compare that to Joey Aguilar for App State, who has 1,230 passing yards through 4 games. So Joey Aguilar's slinging the ball.
Yeah, he is.
All over the place. 1,000 yards of offense. That dude's throwing 250 plus per game, averaging. But
that's a big difference.
But the defense sucks. They can't keep them in ball games, and they can't run the ball.
I don't think the App State secondary is that good, is it?
No, it's not. It's terrible.
Terrible. So my parlay of App State +3, Bama -23, and Duke +9.5, $50 will win 300. So you would be up $188 on me if you hit. If I hit and you don't, I'll be up 300 on you though. Trey in Kentucky says, how are we betting in South Carolina? Trey, we're not. This is fake
money.
This is fake money. This is fake books. This is everything we're doing is fake. It's artificial. Again, if you haven't heard me say it's fake, there's nothing real about this.
Theoretical dollars.
Theoretical dollars, theoretical bookies, theoretical sports books. Everything's fake, okay? It's fake. Smoke and mirrors.
Bookie is a guy named Stone Earl in West Virginia.
So have you seen the movie The Mule?
Is that
with what's his name?
Clint Eastwood?
Clint Eastwood.
Yeah. I love that movie.
Okay, his name. All right, hold on 1 second. This is gonna drive me crazy. Clint Eastwood.
Great movie.
How old is he, by the way?
God, Clint Eastwood.
110.
I'm gonna guess and say Clint Eastwood is 84.
What's that quarterback's name?
Stone Earl.
Okay, this guy's name in the movie, Clint Eastwood, is Earl Stone. I know. Yes, it was.
No way.
It is. When you said Stone Earl, I was like, wait a minute. What
Clint Eastwood is 94.
There's no way.
90.
That's not right, is it?
Oh my God, man.
94.
This is sad. This is honestly sad. I'm looking at a recent photo of Clint Eastwood.
Yeah.
It's sad.
Does not look good.
No, he does not.
Really?
No.
But that was a great movie. I thought he did he directed that movie and he
great movie.
Scripted it, and he was the main actor. It was a great movie. And that was his name, Earl Stone. Now you're telling me a quarterback's name is Stone Earl? I'm looking at pictures now.
Look out for Bryson Cole.
Yeah, that's true. I actually knew a guy. Yeah, I'm looking at a picture now. You're right. That's God, he looks 94.
No, he looks 104. He looks like the bad guy, the Nazi in Raiders of the Lost Ark when he drinks from the wrong cup.
Yeah, but who's better? I mean, Clint Eastwood's like the GOAT, right?
He is the GOAT. He's fantastic.
He's so good.
He's not making any movies anymore, I don't think.
No.
When we come back, Cole, we'll take one more quick look at our Daily Wires, see what else is happening out in the sports world. That's coming up next. Coming to the end here of show number 134, Wire to Wire, with Diesel and Cole Bryson. We'll take a look around the sports world in our daily wires. This is the buzz happening out there. Caitlin Clark won WNBA Rookie of the Year. If you hadn't heard, pretty obvious that she was going to get the thing. She won it outright. Congratulations to Caitlin Clark. Here's a sad one, Cole. The teenager who murdered Southern Miss starting cornerback Marcus Daniels Jr. has pled guilty to second-degree murder.
God.
Marcus Daniels Jr. led the team in 2023 in interceptions and had 29 tackles. So a very good football team. We were asking earlier, like, what's happened to SMU? Obviously, that can be a big black cloud hanging over a team. So I wasn't aware of that. So tragedy within the USM family there. The Atlanta Braves season has come to its official end after their loss 5-4 last night to the Padres. It's over at 89-73, and you give Snicker no credit whatsoever for even winning 89 games with that Sisters of the Poor and that walking wounded roster that he had.
No, he's been bailed out way too many times. Everybody bails him out. Alex Anthopoulos bails him out. Good hitting. I mean, good players bail him out. I mean, it makes him look good, but no, I'm tired. I'm tired of Brian Snitker.
The ALDS series, multiple series, start tomorrow. Start on Saturday. Tigers and Guardians, and then Saturday evening, Royals and Yankees will face off.
Should be some good baseball for real.
NLD series, you're going to see the Padres against the Dodgers, and you'll see the Phillies against the winners of the Mets-Brewers game. That is tonight. That series is tied 1-1.
I like it.
Tonight in the NFL, Bucks and the Falcons, a little NFC South matchup. Cole, you throwing any theoretical dollars on this one?
If I lived in a state where it was legal, I would. Yeah, I would take Tampa Bay to cover tonight. I would also take the under tonight. That's theoretically, just thinking if I've already done it or just, fake thinking. Because I don't do that kind of stuff.
Interesting. The Buffalo Bills are among the teams who have contacted the Raiders about trading for Davante Adams, wide receiver, who's not happy with being in Las Vegas. He's been talking about not being happy there for a couple of years now.
Yes,
right?
he has. That's correct.
Reports, though, from Monday Morning Quarterbacks Albert Breer says most teams are pretty sure that Davante Adams is going to be reuniting with Aaron Rodgers as a New York Jet.
It's a fascinating story because there are a lot of teams out there that would love to have him. Yeah, he has a little hamstring injury that's kind of lingered a little much, but if he's really injured, we don't know. I thought Kansas City or Baltimore might have a play for him. I don't know if they can afford him. It's like an $88 million cap hit if the Cowboys tried to get him. That's not happening. You can throw that out the window. But I do think he's still a really good player, still one of the best in the NFL. I just think that Green Bay, that situation, Aaron Rodgers could use a guy like him, and I think that could happen.
Cole, when there's a home run ball or a foul ball, who owns the baseball?
Whoever walks out of the stadium with it, in my mind.
Well, not according to the lawsuits that are being filed to get hold of Shohei Ohtani's 50-50 home run ball. There's now a second lawsuit that has been filed. We talked about one last week where an 18-year-old, 19-year-old kid claimed that he first grabbed the baseball, but that then somebody else was able to grab a hold of his hand, pin his arm down, and take the ball out of his hand. Well, now another person is suing. His name is Joseph Davidoff. He is filing, claiming that he was able to, quote, firmly and completely grab the ball with his left hand while it was on the ground, successfully obtaining possession, and that an unknown fan wrongfully jumped over the railing, jumped onto him, and grabbed his arm and attacked him, causing the 50-50 ball to come loose and roll into the hands of Chris Valansky.
Sounds like people are upset and need to get over it. I mean, like I said,
would you get over potentially losing hundreds of thousands of dollars?
Well, if I didn't walk out of the stadium with it, I mean, you do whatever. I think in those situations there should be like a clause. You can do whatever. You can fight. No weapons, but we're not going to break it up.
This has the potential, Cole, to be precedent setting.
Yeah, it could be.
I don't know if any lawsuit of this kind has ever been filed. I mean, you're going to be going to cell phone footage, security footage, anything that you can see to see who had their hand on the ball and when, and using that to establish ownership of a home run baseball worth hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Sure.
Let's see. Bally Sports. This is big if you're a baseball fan. Bally Sports has announced they are not going to be carrying 11 of the 12 teams with which they recently had contracts. They are holding on to their Atlanta Braves contract. So I'm sure you're not going to get a discount if you're a Bally subscriber to watch the Braves. They're just going to lose. You're just going to lose 11 of the 12 teams that you might be watching on that platform. The Athletic reports that Major League Baseball felt blindsided by the announcement. And finally, Cole, a music legend, Stevie Nicks, is teaming up with the flavor of the week, Jason Kelley, collaborating on a new Christmas album. You gonna listen to it?
No, I wish you wouldn't have put it in the Daily Wire. I'm so sick of hearing his name.
Me too.
I'm so sick of it.
Sucks.
Gosh, he's the worst.
Done with it.
But a little football tonight, Diesel. Not just NFL, but how about
I'll be watching
college football tonight? I'll be watching. So I have to watch Prime, obviously, right, to get the NFL game. So I would rather watch that. However, I don't know if Texas State Troy moves the meter enough for me to watch that. But should be a fun time. We'll see you tomorrow, a Friday edition of Wire to Wire coming your way. Tolo.